Hello! I'd love to know if I'm live or not, because everything's weird tonight. But hello, one and all. Did I see in the chat, that a notch had arrived? Am I right, Mike?
You are live.
Oh, excellent. And did the notch arrive?
Yeah.
Hello, Renee, first.
Renee said.
Rather early, but hello. Hello, Patricia. Hello, Debbie. Who else have we got? Hello, Kim. 2 to 3 inches of rain in Seattle. Oh, that sounds just like Manchester. Renee is indeed on his new baby. Am I behind the notch? Let me know. Who else have we got? Hello, Jonathan. How are you doing? Tell everybody. The weather is abysmal here, isn't it? It's terrible. Jonathan's 8 miles up the road. That's how Jonathan would know. Hello, Graham. Who else have we got? Don't want to miss anybody. Keep going. I definitely saw Brilliance. Hello, Brilliance. Hello, Peter. Hopefully you're feeling a whole lot better. Positive vibes coming your way. And hello, Deb. And we've got, how am I going to pronounce that? G. Trimpin. Hello. Good to hear I'm sounding better. Thank you, Peter. You too. Quit hiding behind the notch. There's only a tiny bit of me I'd hide behind the notch. There you go. Jonathan says, wet and cool. You'll take that over sunny and hot any day. Well, me too, actually, Jonathan, so I'm quite enjoying it. Hello, Paul. Now, starting tonight, yes, the stuff that's gone on. Oh, it's bizarre. I'm actually wondering if I've got the right presentation up. Usually, PowerPoint presents the slides in the middle, and I have my slide view, my presenter view, on the left. It's been like that for a year. Tonight, it's on the right, which meant I had to move everything else over to the left. That's as bad as far as it goes. But when I did the presentation, I've also got PowerPoint in slide sorter view as well. So I've got 3 different views of PowerPoint. So you've been warned, anything could happen. Anything at all. Anything. But, we like it that way, don't we?
We
now,
don't.
I've no idea how I'm going to move this presentation on. I think I'm going to have to take the mouse pointer up to the top and go all the way across there to try and get the thing to move on. So it'll be interesting, this. It'll be very, very interesting. But hello and welcome, one and all. Let's get on with it. Busy, busy night. Right, there you go. See, slides not moving. I'll have to do it manually. Oh, joy. Right, we do indeed have a busy, busy night. We have an update to YouTube. Hello, Stephen. We have Microsoft Loop. Who doesn't want something new from Microsoft? Creating digital books in Apple Pages. That might be a 2-parter at this rate. Then we've got importing and exporting pivot tables in Apple Numbers. Now, that graphic design fun in Microsoft Office, you might think's me, but it's not. It's Mike. So you've been warned. Mike, graphics should be hysterical.
Yep.
Then we've got Compile Part 3 and camera permitting, which it'd help if I'd already plugged it in, which I haven't, an unboxing. In fact, 3 unboxings, or 2.5. How can you have 2.5 unboxings?
Stay around and we'll show you.
Yes, there you go. Oh, very well done there, Mike. You have done a course in copywriting all of a sudden. Excellent, I'm liking that. Right, we're broadcasting in 1080p. Make sure you are watching in 1080p. You will need the cog in the lower right-hand corner. The one that's next to the like button. Don't get confused between the like button and the dislike button. We have news on that. But while you're down there, give that a hit as well, because we'd like that. We would. You see, Kim says she can't wait for Mikey's graphic fun. You'll love it. You'll love it. So, what was the week at MacBites headquarters like? Oh, well. Right, it started on Saturday. It started early on Saturday, so let's get the bad news out of the way. Yes, we weren't expecting anything joyous, which was just as well, because we didn't get anything joyous. In fact, it was shocking. It was shockingly bad. So, bad words were said at the 7-minute mark, and they were worse than usual because the first goal for the opposition was kindly gifted to them by one of our players. And whenever that happens, we are reminded, aren't we, of Ryan Giggs' debut when Henry Ogg scored.
Yeah.
Was a friend of mine who was painting and decorating at the time, and his wife said, "Oh, the opposition have scored." And he said, "Well, who scored?" And then no, it was for us, wasn't it? And he said, "Who scored?" And she said, Henry Hogg. And he said, who the hell's Henry Hogg? We haven't got a Henry Hogg playing. And it turned out it was Hendry, as in somebody's surname, and OG after his name, which meant own goal, which obviously the good lady didn't know. So we all had a good giggle over that. But yeah, Saturday, best left forgotten. While Mike was doing that, I forgot to tell you that I was second braining. And I was second braining with 3 sessions. Oh, I was busy. And then we had 8 shows as well, but they're pre-recorded, so that wasn't too bad. When it came to 8 p.m, and we did Brooklyn's by request, it was a grand old week because we did James Bond and Spies. And we had there was a lot of songs, weren't there, to do with Spies?
There was.
Way more than we thought, so we had a blast with that. While all that was going on, there was a Tesco delivery, which, while worthy of note usually, much excitement. After over 2 months away, Wendy was back, which meant that Lola, well, she was pleased. Not only does she like Wendy, but Wendy rocked up with treats for Lola. And before you think we mean anything that we bought, we don't. Wendy had actually bought 2 treats for Lola herself. Lola was most interested and devoured them there and then. And then slept through the barrage of fireworks that sounded like an intense mortar attack. One relaxed girl. You'll notice there she's got all her comforts. She's got all of the water, notice, best Buxton spring water. But she also has the fire, in case she's cool, and the fan, in case she's hot. And she really did look like that for the whole of bonfire night and the following nights where it was Diwali. We are very, very, very lucky, aren't we? Because the dog next door was crying its eyes out. So we are incredibly lucky with that. So, Sunday, and I was second braining again. Virtually all day, I think. I think I had 2 on that. But Sunday was a special day because we had a special delivery. I can't give you any more details than that because that's the unboxing.
Renee
yes,
says that dog is a diva.
She is. She's a real princess. But I'd rather she was like that than crying and whimpering because she was scared, because she's not in the slightest bit scared. She really isn't. But when you can hear the next door neighbour's dog through the wall, and it was crying. It wasn't like howling or whining like a dog. It was crying like a baby. It was awful. So, special delivery on Sunday. I have not opened it. That's the unboxing. But there was a lot more to that delivery. And the full saga of that will be in MacBites on Tuesday. Because it needs sharing, trust me, it does. Then I headed off into Rome Book Club. We have the same 2 books doing our syntopical read, but we had a guest. A special guest who was the author of Range. So I think he was supposed to be there for an hour. But needless to say, it ran long, which meant it ran long later. So 3 hours and 1 minute. We did get into the 4th hour of that before we headed into Monday. And Monday, I was back in the saddle. You're wondering, aren't you? I mean, in the studio. But the show should have maybe got out on Tuesday, but it didn't because the show got out on Wednesday. But Tuesday was busy as well because I had to be up at silly o'clock. For some reason, despite the fact the clocks had returned to where they were, they'd moved the book club session. So there I was an hour earlier than usual, which for me is an alarming time. I think it was noon. That's too early. When you get to bed at 8 in the morning, noon, no, you don't see noon much. But it was my right useful books, and it was important. It was the last session before a special one the day after. It was 45 minutes long. You're wondering, aren't you? How do we do 3 hours and then just 45 minutes on one? And that's easily explained. There were 2 attendees and the host. I was one of the attendees. I'm like, really? So I said, well, it is an hour earlier than it has been for every other one, so maybe people didn't know. But yes, it was 45 minutes with just the 2 of us and the host. Yeah, that could have been more interesting, couldn't it? Which takes me through to Wednesday when we had this special session, which I definitely didn't want to miss. It was still Rome Book Club. It was still the right useful books. But this time we had the author. He looks like a digital nomad, doesn't he? And indeed he is. So we had the pleasure of his company for the full hour and 5 minutes. Then I had another session. I was heading into another session. It was a technical session about using integrated Zoom apps inside a Zoom session. Or I should have been. But I got this email. Obviously, this arrived at stupid o'clock, 4:15 in the morning. And it was advising me there'd been a change to the schedule for the session. But your guess is as good as mine as to when the session actually is now. If anybody is able to read that, do let me know, because I don't have a clue. He said, we've moved it. And I thought, that's great. When to? And I've no idea. The original one didn't come in Chinese or Japanese or whatever that is. But there you go. I don't have a clue. So I just know it didn't happen when it should have done. Let's put it like that. Now, then Mike and Lola disappeared out. Now, you know we always have food on their travels. No, it looks like we've upped our stakes now. We've moved on from food and we now have public charging.
Yeah, charging stations.
Only here.
Do you remember substations of sale? Well, this is charging stations of sale.
Charging stations of sale, there you go. Which is handy, because, you know, you never know when you may need public charging to listen to the next MacBites. Very handy. You could be short of a charge and you might need it. So after a short hiatus, we were back with the full horror of our launch day update to Monty. Oh, what great fun that was. So that took us through to Thursday. Somebody was clearly listening to too much this week at too high a volume, because Mike got a little message on his watch. You never seen that before, have you?
No.
It's all for the good of your health, Mike. You must have been listening to me, and that's why it said turn the volume down. Well, either that or Siri, one or the other. But yeah, that was a new to Mike. Oh, Kim says it's Japanese. There you go. Could have been Japanese. I've no idea, but it's moved. But I'm just waiting for a reminder to tell me when. But if it comes in Japanese or Chinese again, I'm going to have no clue when it is anyway. But there you go. Maybe I can wait for the recording and watch that. Which took us on to Friday. Now, for those asking how the bed rest is going, not as well as it was, obviously, but I have. And when I'm on bed rest, I've been watching the pups. They're 3 weeks old now, and that was their first taste of yoghurt. Who doesn't want a Samoyed puppy? Oh, it's making me broody. Mike, I'm broody. Lola needs to provide me with more pups. They're just adorable. So while I was watching that, Mike was out with Lola. And the very next day, after charging gate, now today there was a pair of headphones there. So clearly somebody is oversharing, I feel. But, you know, just in case you were short of a pair of headphones. And looking at those, Mike, they do look like they're Lightning headphones, don't they? Apple Lightning headphones. Yeah. A different wall, but there you go.
I had to surreptitiously take that picture.
Just in case someone thought you were nicking them.
Just in case the homeowner was looking out the window at 6:30 in the morning. And the first picture I took came out all blurred because she was pulling me. So I had to go back and take it again.
Oh, so great fun here this week. And I know, Debbie, aren't they absolutely gorgeous? Oh, they remind me of Lola's pups. Lola had, was it 5?
6, wasn't it?
That's right. She actually had 7, but 1 died, unfortunately. So she had 6 pups, and we got to go around and visit them. And we actually had one of them stay with us because Lola had to go to the vets. And a previous owner had to go with her, and that left a pup that couldn't be left alone. Luckily, someone works from home all the time, don't they? So literally on her way to the vets with Lola, she dropped off the pup, and I had the pup all day. Oh, it was like, don't come back for it. Just forget and leave it with me. Oh, we had fun. And today marks a 1-year anniversary. Oh, who can remember what? Well, it was this very day. Well, actually, no, it was the 13th. It was Friday the 13th last year when I had officially had enough. When Keynote had eaten its last slide of mine and I moved to PowerPoint. Have I ever looked back? No. No, I haven't. I was not expecting that. In fact, a year ago, I was being very grumpy that I may have to move. And now it's the best thing I ever did. There you go. So, on to our first update. Yes, YouTube have updated. If you look at your YouTube right now, you will be able to see the update. They announced this 2 days ago. I thought it was a grand old idea. But every video I've seen since did not think it was a good idea. but I do. Right, it's an update to the dislikes. The video is there for you to watch if you want to watch it, but let me summarise it for you. You may still dislike a video. There is a dislike button. It's the one that says dislike next to it. But you will not see a dislike count now on any video on YouTube. The reason that they've done it, they explain it in that video, is it was coordinated attacks on videos. So what people were doing was like putting out the word, let's all go and pile in on this video and put a dislike on it. And YouTube obviously YouTube can track anything and everything, and they do. And they could see this happening, and they felt it was unfair to creators. That it was done because somebody didn't agree with the creator, they didn't like the creator, whatever. So you can still dislike a video, and the creator will still be aware, not that you personally have disliked a video, but the video has X number of dislikes. But they can now only be seen in the back end of YouTube. They will never be public. So people who were just putting a dislike on so they could get the dislike count higher than the like count are, should we use that technical term? Knackered. You can't do that anymore. Will I be looking at the dislike count? No, couldn't give a toss. But what I would say about it is, some people are saying like, I'm disenfranchised, I want to dislike a video. You can still dislike a video. It's just that no one will know. So if you were doing it because you genuinely felt that the video had no value, then I can understand you're a little bit peeved. But if you were doing it just, to exercise the fact that you could, then tough. You can't. Well, you can, but, no one's interested. If you really don't like the content of a video, why don't you just mail the creator and explain why and do the adult thing? Let's all do some adulting instead of disliking. But that's what's happened. So if you're wondering why it says dislike instead of a number, that's what it's now going to say, dislike, but there's no number. So there you go. Had you noticed? Do you care? Will it make a difference to you? Let me know. Let me know. People were saying, the ones that didn't like it, that's disliking the dislike, isn't it? But you know what I mean. The ones who were a little bit on the peeved side, saying they felt disenfranchised, were saying that they used the dislike count by comparing it to the like count to see if a video was actually worthwhile watching or not. And I thought, do you ever do that? I thought, no, I don't. I think there's only ever been one video that I really remember, and it had more dislikes than likes. I watched it anyway. I could understand when I'd finished watching it why it had more dislikes than likes, but I don't think it would have stopped me watching it. But let me know. Put it in the chat. What do you use? Well, did you use the dislike count? Because that's what's been going on. Renee says he's not doing adult things. He's watching MacBites After Hours. Oh, we're very adult. Sometimes we have toys of an adult nature. Well, we do on MacBites, don't we? We don't tend to do the... do you remember when we did the audio-only unboxing of a lady pipe?
Yeah.
An audio-only unboxing. I'll just leave that there. We did. It was the last episode of Marooned. And the lady pipe had arrived by 1 o'clock the following day, and there I was trying to work out which way was up. But we'll leave that there, because we don't want any videos of that, do we? Right, let's move on. What have we got next? Oh, Microsoft Loop. Yes, Loopy, I'm afraid. Right, who's heard of Microsoft Loop? This was announced at Microsoft Ignite. And it isn't actually, so let's start off with it isn't actually available to download or play with right now. But they've announced it for either later this year or earlier next year. So it's Microsoft Loop. It's based on the Fluid framework. The Fluid framework being a canvas-based system that you can put components on. So what they've done is they put a video out, and this was some of the content of the video. So looking at it, does it remind you of anything? And it might not just yet. It might not just yet. That might look like something else that many of us use. I'll just leave that there. You tell me if that reminds you of anything. But the Fluid framework was first talked about over 2 years ago. And what it is, instead of having Word content siloed in Word and Excel content siloed in Excel, the idea was that you would have a canvas and you would be able to put elements of your content on it. So if we look at that one there, we've got a Word file, the marketing guidelines, we've got sales, which is a presentation, and then we've got Excel, which is the revenue. That was the idea, but it's also for collaboration. Ah, Kim, bang on, Notion. Well, the internet lost its proverbial over this, and it was, this is a rip-off, it's a rip-off, it's Notion, it's a rip-off. Brilliant says, is it Microsoft's version of Tinder? Sort of, yes, because it's very much involved with real-time collaboration, giving feedback on this stuff in real time. It's going to be integrated with Teams, Microsoft Teams. Is it a total rip-up of Notion? Not really, no. But I can understand when you look at it. It's got a definite look of Notion. It's got a definite look of Craft. It's the look of the thing. Does it work in that kind of way? Not really. But if they were in the middle of designing this and then, you looked at Notion, it'd be like, yeah, don't do that. Let's make it look different. But the whole point of this is it's component based, as you can see. You can have a mood board. You can have a OneNote note. You can have anything, as long as it's Microsoft content, obviously. But as I say, the idea is it's integration of all the corporate knowledge that you have or the project-based knowledge that you have. So it's not siloed in folders or files. And the big thing is the version of the data that you've got. So if you take a presentation and you send it off for review, which version have they got? And have you got another one? And if you updated it, which is the latest version? So this is supposed to solve all of those problems. The collaboration is in real time. So these comments that you're seeing at the bottom and the little pointers, so where it says Serena and Addy at the top, these are moving on everybody's screen at the same time. It's incredibly off-putting. In that respect, it's actually like Miro, Miro, which again is a collaborative canvas-based system. So that's the idea, but like when you look at that, it looks a little bit like Canva, doesn't it? Choosing your marketing assets from Canva. But the big thing is when it comes to the data that's in there. So you've got live updating sales data or value data or somebody's phone number, which may have changed. And the idea is that you can rip out that component of one document, or what was previously a document, and put it in multiple places. So if we look at that, on the left-hand side, you've got Teams, and on the right-hand side, you've got Outlook. And as you copy and paste that chunk of information in two places, it's referring back to an original data source that's updating in real time. Paul says, oh joy, we're a Microsoft shop at work. Our organisation is still getting used to Teams.
I know the feeling, Paul.
Well, this is going to be there on top of Teams. Is it a good idea? It is probably the way forward. But the issue with this is going to be, and that was the point that I looked at it and thought that isn't going to work. On the left-hand side, you've got Teams, and obviously that data is going to work in Teams because it's back-ended onto a Microsoft server to work. On the right, of course, it works in the email because it's OneNote and it's Outlook for mail, which is Microsoft-based. But what if you're sending that outside the organisation? Then the permissions required for that to work are going to be a nightmare. Do they work if you send it to me and I'm on Gmail? Probably not. So the idea is there that you're sharing components and that they're always up to date. But will it work? To be honest, probably not. It's going to take years because you're going to need to shift both people, their individual preferences, for, that's my Word file and you're not editing it, and also a corporate workflow. You're going to have to change all of that if you're going to get this to work. But the idea is that that's where they're heading. Will it be deployed? I think, as Paul's saying, if you're a Microsoft shop, probably. Be it there as an option or there as compulsory, probably. Will that filter down to individuals? And I think it would take a whole lot longer because all of the things that you can use, they're all Microsoft based. So, if you've got your data in Notion, that's not going to work. Even with the Notion API, it's not going to be as integrated as it is in there. But if the entire company or your organisation is based on Microsoft, it isn't going to cost you any more to have Loop available, hence keeping the Loop. But that is on the way. Will we give it a go? Probably. Is it Notion? No, it's not. But the problem with it is it looks so much like Notion that people are already screaming blue murder. But they're going to find that this can't do what Notion can do and Notion can't do what this can do. But it's a bit like, I'd say in terms of this, you can paint stripes on a horse. It's not a zebra though, is it? It's a copy of a zebra. But with this, people already compare directly head-on Notion and Evernote. They look nothing like each other, but they will do the head-on comparison between them. They are bound to do the head-on comparison of this because they look identical, but they're not. So there you go. That's on the way. How important it'll be to individuals remains to be seen. It could end up just like running alongside teams in corporates, but there you go. I'm sure Paul can let us know what happens and if he enjoys it or not when it arrives. Which neatly takes us on to creating digital books in Apple Pages. Let's get back onto something we can actually do, and it's Pages, so it's totally free. Right, Pages has long been able to make digital books, but its purpose changed when iBooks Author died. iBooks Author was fabulous. Do not work under the apprehension that Apple Pages is iBooks Author, because it's not. This is unfortunate, because iBooks Author it supported data types that Apple Pages can't. For those to work on people's iPad to be able to consume the content that you created from iBooks Author, you did need to use Apple Books. But Apple Books is there anyway, so I think it's a sad, sad loss. But what we're left with is Apple Pages and its ability to make two distinct types of digital books. Reflowable books, which are EPUBs. They are the standard EPUB that you would get on a Kindle. And it's reflowable because you get to decide what font size you want, what font type you want. So, for instance, on my Kindle, I can't abide a serif font when I'm reading. So I will change it to any kind of sans serif font that's available. And Kindle have their own font called Ember, which, if there's nothing else, I'll use that. So with a reflowable EPUB, a standard EPUB, it's the user that gets to determine what it looks like. So hence the lock there, it's unlocked. It's up to the user. So if you've got somebody of advancing years, and I'm going to have to include myself in that now, aren't I? Unfortunately. You might want the font a little bit bigger. Alternatively, you might want it smaller, or like I've said, you might want it a different font entirely. You can do all of that as a reader with a reflowable EPUB. But a reflowable EPUB isn't suitable for every book type that you may want to create. So think in terms of a cookery book or a technical book where there's lots and lots of images and you need to have complete control as to where that actually is, how it appears and where it appears. And that is called a fixed layout EPUB. So there's two distinct types. Pages can create both. In terms of how you should go about it as a creator, make sure you've decided what layout you want for the book before you start. Can you make changes later? It's easier to change a reflowable book into a fixed layout than it is a fixed layout into a reflowable. You should be able to do that at the beginning because you should know the type of book and the type of content that you're adding to it. Now, if you're switching from iBooks Author and you want something that's more comparable with how iBooks Author worked, then go for a fixed layout from the beginning. You could start a reflowable and then change your mind, but you're only going to make your life more difficult in two ways. Firstly, you'll have this book that is reflowable because that's what you've told it to do, that you would then, at the point you come to export it, have to make a fixed layout. But you've lost all of the benefits. You can do it, but you've lost all of the benefits of both the reflowable thing in terms of letting people decide what they want it to look like on their device, and at the point of creation, you've lost all of the options that are in Pages for creating a fixed layout. So let's go and actually have a look at the whole thing. That would be a jolly good idea. And this is like working with a negative because everything's on the wrong screen at the moment, but never mind, we'll get there in the end. Right, Pages. Let's start with that. Oh, and you've already opened on the wrong screen. Fabulous. Right, I will come in here. We'll put that in the middle and I'll say new. Right, and we have in here, let's forget the recents and start with basic. We have all our templates down the side, the recents being at the top, followed by basic. There are more templates in here than there ever have been before. The basic ones are literally basic. They're blank or note-taking, they're black or they're white, they're portrait or they're landscape. You'll probably be familiar with the reports because these have been in here for a long time. The visual reports, school reports, the professional reports used a lot, and all of the others. But the ones we're interested in are books. The books are in a single category of their own. But within that single category, there are different options that you've got. So, unfortunately, with this one, you actually have to read something, because with the reports or the CVs or the flyers and posters, you don't have to read anything. You just look for the one that you want and you sort it. But in the books, it actually starts you off, and it has some text at the top there where it's saying books, portrait. The content can reflow to accommodate different devices and orientations when exported to EPUB. Best for books containing primarily text. So this is where you would write your memoirs, as long as you don't have photos in your memoirs. Books Like a Christmas Carol is my standby demo, because it's a full book and it's quite short. And they're giving you options there of what these actually look like. So you've got like a contemporary novel, an elegant novel, edgy, all that kind. And when you use one of these templates, you do actually get the graphics that you're looking at. So that will be there as the cover. But all of these are for, if you think of a paperback, that's what you're using these for. These are the standard reflowable EPUB books. But they do have a look to them. So while you think, well, a paperback's a paperback's a paperback, obviously there's lots of different ones here. So a standard paperback is quite narrow, but this applied chemistry is a textbook, so it's a bit wider. So they are giving you a certain element of look and feel and style before you even start. And then as you move down, you have books landscape. And if you have used iBooks Author, these should look fairly familiar. They're not identical, not by a long way, but the look and feel of them pretty much is. So these are landscape books. These would be intended to be read on an iPad in landscape mode. So it actually says the layout of each page is maintained when exported to EPUB, and it's best for image-heavy or multi-column books. And indeed it is. This is not going to reflow. The user does not get to choose the fonts, the size, or anything else. What would they look like on a Kindle? You'd be lucky if they worked on a Kindle. So think of these as more like iBooks. So let's have a look at creating one of these, one of each. I'm going to save the iBooks ones, these ones here, the landscape ones, for next week. But I will show you what one looks like right now. So let's open up this cookbook here. So you're opening a template into Pages, and this is what you get. And it does actually look quite reminiscent of iBooks Author. Right. Having selected this, what you've given yourself is some pages if you want to start using these. I mean, obviously you probably change the graphics and things, but you can start putting your content in these types of pages. But in addition to that, when you click on the Add Page option, you have a range of pages to choose from. So you have a recipe template, you have instructions, you have plain text that goes full width, you have 2 columns, you have a chapter opener or an introduction. So when I said you could change a reflowable into a fixed layout, but don't do it, the reason not to do it is if you choose reflowable at the beginning, you're not going to have at the point of creation all of these templates available to you to add extra pages. Whereas if you choose the correct type, so in this case we want this faux iBook, we want a fixed layout, then during the creation process, Pages is there to help you do that. So if I'm down here and I want to put another recipe in, I go up to Add Page and I can just add a recipe to it underneath. Each of these pages is treated as completely self-contained. I don't want to put something on here and have it flow onto the next page because that wouldn't work at all, would it? So that is what you would do if it was a fixed layout book. So Kim's interested in the children's book, Landscape. Let's go and have a look at that one. So we won't save that one at the moment. We will go into New and have a look at the children's book. Where's the children's book? Landscape ones, books, landscape. Was this one here? Let's have a look. Is it that storybook? Oh, Kitty's morning walk. Kitty upsetting Lola. There you go. Each one will have different elements to it. So this one's got fewer pages, but it's very much like big text that a child could read, huge spaces for images. And if we go to the add page, the options that you've got there are very different than the last one. So if you are writing some kind of book that you want, maybe like a child's story or something like that, then you could start with this one. Or if it's a child's cookbook, you could start with the other one, or you could mix and match. But it's giving you a starting point and a kit to create the book that you're trying to create with it. Right, but we're going to start with a standard reflowable EPUB and come back to this one next time. So back to File and New. Only this time in Books, I want to create one of these. Now, should I start with a blank book? I would say yes, if you're quite happy to put all of the elements in it. But initially, I would say pick one of the others or look through them all. Seriously, look through them all. Which one fits best? I don't think contemporary would fit with A Christmas Carol because it's not a contemporary book. It's very much in time. So possibly a traditional novel would work better for that. But if what I'm writing is a guide to, productivity, then I might choose professional or instructional. The difference in these is mainly the look of them. So let's have a look at edgy novel. Edgy novel being like a crime book. Right, that's the look you get in Pages. It's very, very different to the fixed layout. So if we scroll down, we've actually got a 2-page view layout in here, in every page. It's an edgy novel, so like a crime thriller. So we do have in here the kind of impactful font. In fact, that could well be Impact. Are you Impact? Where's our font? It looks like Impact to me. Right, you've got the colour. Red being like, that looks like a thriller. And you've got pages here about the author. You still have the option to add pages, but this time it's literally just adding a page, ready for you to start putting in your content. It's not giving you a range of pages to work from in there. It is adding a page. Right, we can't see at this point, we can't get an overview of what we're actually looking at here, unless we go into View and choose Page Thumbnails. So let's choose the Page Thumbnails and see what we've got. Now you can see the actual layout that you've got, and it's a little bit like Affinity Publisher in that it's showing you that you've got facing pages. So you have that there. Erna Semper writes in all styles. I've no idea. We'll find out. But this is the layout that you get. So should you start with this if it's your book? And the problem is you'd need to get rid of a lot of what's in there. But I think what they're assuming at this point is that maybe you're at this stage and that you're just going to type in something here and type in something here, because these are placeholders. I can't select an individual word. It's just a placeholder. So that is in the beginning. And they are expecting me to type in my content. So that's what you've got in there. That's what that one looks like. This, as the front cover, you do have the option at the point that you create that, whether you include that or not. But this is just a graphic. You can see if I move it totally out of the way, the text from the previous page appears on this page. So if I put a graphic on there, that takes over the entire front cover and the rest of it is pushed down. So you could put your image there if you wanted to, completely up to you. So that's what we've got with that one. Let's go and File New and have a look. How different are some of the others? So back into Books. Should we choose a traditional novel or a professional one? Let's choose the professional one and see what that looks like. So again, you've got this image there. You would replace that with your own. I would suggest you turn on the page thumbnails to see what we've got. It actually doesn't look that different to me. The headings are different. We haven't got the blood drop and stuff like that. And you've got the author thing at the end. But it's not actually that different. Not that much, it's not. I don't think you're going to find in here that any of these are hugely different from the others. I really don't. Let's get the books. possibly that one's going to be a different width. So that one is going to be slightly different, just because a paperback doesn't really work well for something like a textbook. So bigger images, etc. And full width, it doesn't look like a paperback. So is it worth starting with one of these? Or should we start from nothing, which is our blank one there, a blank book. Let's have a look what we get. I think it's going to depend on how confident you are in here, because that doesn't look, we haven't got the facing pages or anything like that. So first of all, when you're making a reflowable EPUB, you need to be thinking about what you want it to actually look like, or at least a starting point. I think, not the applied chemistry one, let's get rid of that. I think I wouldn't go for that one, because while it's a ghost story, it's not a horror story, is it? I think I'd try the traditional novel one, this traditional novel. Working on the principle, I think that would look the nearest to what I'm actually looking for. So let's have a look at the page thumbnails. Again, it's fairly standard. We've got that, but instead of it being left aligned, it's centre aligned, it's using a certain font. We've got all the elements that we need, including we can put in a dedication, we've got a prologue there, and then we've got the actual chapter and a bit about the author at the end. That's not bad. Now, what would it look like if you had created this in Scrivener, though, and then it came to export time? Well, I won't do the export because I've already done it, but from Scrivener, you would export as RTF, and Pages can read RTF, it can read doc, it can read docx, but I left it at RTF and I exported it from there. So I actually have up here, open this, Christmas Carol export, and that is what it looks like. So I just did a general export. You can see all I've got here is what looks like an office report, doesn't it? If that was truly an ebook, it wouldn't really look like that. I've just exported it like that. So what I would do with it in here, I do have my preface there. So I've got that bit. Let's take that to the right hand side and take this to the left hand side. Let's lose the big format options, don't need those yet, and have a look at what we've got here. So that bit there would probably go in there, wouldn't it? So let's paste that in. In fact, if I paste that in and match the style, what I can do here is get rid of that, and I can then start making this smaller. So then I'm going to need my format back, aren't I? We don't need it anything like that big. Now, is it worth bothering formatting this? There's a question. And what I mean by that is, we've just said this is going to be reflowable. And if it's reflowable, the user's going to get to determine this, surely. And that is right, they will. But they will be able to do it based on the size it already is. It will be in relation to it. So if we've done that, if we've said that the Charles Dickens and the In Prose Being needs to be smaller, then all of this, if they change the font and make it smaller, it will all become smaller, but in proportion. So it is actually worth setting this up at this point. Right, that's the legally stuff, and that's the prologue, which they're saying is a preface. So in here, I would take this little bit, and again, I would click on that, get rid of the first bit, click on the second bit, and paste and match style. Awesome, let's lose this again because we're getting very narrow. Then I actually have a table of contents. Which am I going to need to copy and paste it? What would you do? Let me know in the chat. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to concentrate on all of this bit down here, which is stave 1. This is Marley's Ghost. So I'm going to copy that, and in there, paste and match style. And then I've got the entire chapter 1 that's in here, stave 1. I have no idea where stave 2 is. Hopefully I'll catch it on the way past. There's more pages than I thought in chapter 1. I don't think I've missed it, but you never know. Oh, what was that? What was you doing there? Stave 2. Awesome. Right, so that bit that I've just copied is the entirety of that. This one I'm not going to need, but if I did, I could actually put Marley's Ghost in there. That would work quite nicely. In this bit here, then I get rid of all of that. So I'm not going to need that. I will replace that with my text. And there is my text. And what has happened automatically... Ooh, what are the export options? Renee, calm down. Stroke the notch. I'll get to the export when I finish making the book. But I will show you the export. Right, it's automatically generated all of the pages that I need. Here they all are. There is my text. The beauty of this is, if I was thinking I could do with changing this in some kind of way, if we look at the format, it works with styles. So body 2. If I wanted to make some changes to body 2, so let's say I'm thinking the spacing could be better. Right, I've changed that bit, but I can update the style and it will update the entire book. Perfect. And we didn't have to do anything. The style was already there. I just pasted into it and that now looks better to me. However, remember that what I'm setting up in here might suit me, but when I export it, I'm handing over control of what it looks like to the user. Right, okay, we've got that bit sorted in there. That's that bit. The next thing to do is to go down here, and we should have some stuff in here that we don't particularly need, which is this. So this is from the template, and we don't need it. So I'm getting rid of all of that, which takes me to there. And then, of course, I've got this bit for the author. But what I would need to do is to pop the rest of it in there. Right, just so we've got the full text, I'll grab that. Let's at least put the second stave in, which is probably about 20 pages, maybe a bit more. Come on, don't miss stave 3. What was that? Stave 3. So I've got that one. All right. Okay. Renee, we know you are. Oh, we know you are. Right, so I'm going to put the extra bits in here. But do I want to just press enter and put in stave 2? And if you think about how a book works, no, I probably don't. Up on my insert, I can insert a section break, a page break. There's all kinds of stuff that I can insert in there. I would definitely need at least a page break to get it onto the next page, which is down here. But normally, a new chapter or stave would start on a recto page, which is on the right. So I might want to do that again, which I can't do there, can I? There we go, page break. And that puts me onto a right-hand sided page. At which point, and I've got in here, I can do that from there as well. When I get to there, I can paste that in, but I actually wanted to paste a match style in there. So there we go. So I have pasted match style and I've now got more content in there. And I would just need to carry on doing that until all the other content is in there. You could do it all at once and then format it later. So I could select from 3 all the way down to the end. God bless us everyone, that's the end of the book. Right, and go into here and do the same again. So let's do it from the menu this time. Let's make sure we are in there and insert page break, which will take us to the left hand side, and then insert page break, which will take us to the right hand side, and then paste and match style. And now we've got 103 pages of the book, but we have the entire book. Okay, there we go. Right, at that point, you probably would be taking longer to format this in terms of making sure that staves 4 and 5 are also on recto pages. So we've got 3 there, and obviously I'd be formatting that with styles. So in here it's a body style, and I would want that to be a chapter. So all of this work would need to be done. Shall we assume that you've done it? Shall we go through and make sure it's done? Somewhere in here there's stave 5. And I'm wondering if the thumbnails are big enough for me to actually be able to see it. If that's 3, 4 and 5 are in here and I'm not seeing them. So probably a better way to work is to lose the format option, because we really are working on a tiny screen, and do that. You are only going to find stave 5 times. So this is for The Last of the Spirits. That's perfect. So the thing that I would need to do with this is it needs to be on its own recto page. So I need to insert and page break and insert page break. And now it is. And from the styles, I need to style that as a chapter heading, which is already included from the template. So let's go there. And there's 4. Right, back up to the search and try again. And there is 5. And once more do that and we're sorted. We have a pretty nice book. So insert page break, insert page break. It's on the right side. Format that as a chapter heading. And then we can look at the export features. Right, so we have our book. Probably at this point, good point to save it. I'll call it demo. Right, because we wouldn't want it to crash and burn, would we? Obviously, I would put a picture of Charles Dickens in and stuff, and I would have stuff at the beginning I would need to think about, where I've left it with this sample stuff. But we could at least put that there, couldn't we? We could at least have Charles Dickens there. There we go. Right. So when it comes to outputting it, you're looking at File and Export to. Now, you do have 2 options. If you are publishing this to Apple Books, you could just say File, Publish to Apple Books. And then that will ask you to log in and go through all the process to actually sell the thing on Apple Books. If you want this in any other format to sell any other way, and I mean from anything from Kindle to Gumroad, then it's Export to, and then you've got some options. Now, you could sell this as a PDF, but EPUB is where it's at. So, EPUB. Right, it picks up the title from the title of the document. So obviously, in our case, that needs to change to A Christmas Carol. I am not the author. It's picked that up because it's picked up who's logged in. Funnily enough, Charles Dickens doesn't often log in. Then you have 3 options when it comes to the cover. So you can say no book cover. You can say use the front page as the book cover, so that very first page, which we do have up here. Or you can choose an external image and copy that. Choose an image from a file and it will use that. I think actually at this point we can take this full screen, can't we? Don't need the other one. Right. The layout option is then the 2 layout options that I've tried to explain. Reflowable as a standard EPUB or a fixed layout. The fixed layout being appropriate when you want to force the reader to consume it in the way that you want. Now, I know we do that with a paperback, but I think it's good manners if it's an EPUB to just let it be reflowable. Right, so I would leave that at reflowable, but I'm pointing out that despite the fact that we selected at reflowable at the beginning, and it's defaulting to reflowable right now, you still have that option to override it, but good manners are don't do that. Right, we'll leave it at reflowable. You then have down here these advanced options. So you've got a category that you can put it in, and there are categories available there. What would this one be? I don't suppose ghost stories. I know, but it's not really a mystery and a thriller either, is it? It's classic. It's classic literature, this, and I'm not at all sure that there's a category for classic literature. I guess you'd have to put fiction and general and fiction and literature. That'll do. Then the language it's in, and then whether you want to use a table of contents or not. You do get the option whether you want to embed a font. If you embed a font, then the default that will be shown on an e-reader is the font that you have chosen. But because you've said it's reflowable, you should give them the opportunity to change the font if they want to. You are just setting it up how you would like it at this stage. But that is actually all you have to do. Those are the only options that you have to set to be able to create an EPUB. Right. Is Apple Books easier to do ebook than Scrivener? If you mean pages, I guess so. But once you've got the basics of Scrivener, possibly not. It just depends. Because in the Scrivener compile, you've got a Scrivener compile setting. We've got more than one Scrivener compile setting. Whereas in here, you have to set this up every time you do it. You've got styles in here, but you could have styles in Scrivener. So I would. When would you use Pages and when would you use Scrivener? I think you'd use Pages if that's all you've got. But if you are serious about publishing it, then you've got to think about the writing of it. Obviously, it's about equal for me because I'm just copying and pasting an entire book. But if I had to write that book, I wouldn't be writing it in Pages. It'd be in Scrivener to start with. If I found Scrivener compile just too much, then what I could do is export to RTF and then use Pages for the layout. But Scrivener has way, way, way more options, and it's a fully fledged writing environment to write in, to research in, to track your progress, to decide that you're not going to export that chapter or you will export these two. It's just far more feature rich than Pages ever will be. But in terms of actually taking a finished manuscript and creating a PDF, a EPUB from it, Pages is capable. It's very capable. Right, so we've set that up. We now just need to export it. So going on to next, I'm going to put this in my files in here. So this one is going to be the EPUB. So I'll port exported so we know which one we're talking about from the actual title, and export it. And then it goes away and it creates an EPUB file. Right, what is an EPUB file? That's not a trick question. So if we get our Finder window and bring that over, right, what is an EPUB file? Well, this is the file, and if we look at the information on that, you can see that it is actually an EPUB file. So we're hiding the extension, but if we put the extension on, no, it's an EPUB. It really is an EPUB. But we can also tell from this window that the default application set to handle it is BetterZip. Interesting. Well, let's double click it and BetterZip will open it. And that will show you the contents of what is in an EPUB file. Right, we have a MIME type. That is a file that tells it what to expect, what file type that actually is. Then we have the actual information. So in our meta, we have two XML files. XML files, I don't know if we can actually see that. There you go. It actually tells any application that tries to read this what it is. So it's saying to it, okay, I am an Oasis names blah 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 container file, and this is what I contain. And it's saying the full path, the root file is in OPS epub.opf. So it's actually saying to it, you're in here because you're trying to find out what's in this file. It's actually in here. So normally you would never see all of this. I am just showing you what you have actually created, because what you're looking at now is exactly what Scrivener would create. You would have your chapter files. Each one of these is a HTML file, an XHTML file, but a HTML file nevertheless. So if we were to look at, let's say, chapter 3, which can be stave 3, there's the contents of it. It's just our text. You can do all of this by hand. You can actually edit all of this if you want. There's a CSS file that's going to tell it what it looks like, but it can be overridden. This is your book. This is it. But it's no good looking at it in a zip file, is it? Because we actually want to see it. If we want to see it, the best thing you can do to view it, you can use to view it on a Mac is, if we go into Open With, we have Calibre, which is free. So I'm going to open that. I've just done an update, so that's why it's complaining and wanting permissions. Away you toddle. Oh, you are not opening, you naughty, naughty thing. Let's try that again. I've given you all the permissions you need. Just open. Here we go. Right, so what it's saying is, you've already got this book. Yes, I know I have, but you're going to overwrite it, aren't you? Or let me do it. Do you want them added anyway? Yes, I do. Right, so it's adding a book. So this was the one that I did. When did I do that one? That's another one. But this one is the one that we've just got now. So Calibre is an application that clearly was designed on a PC by a 3-year-old with some crayons. But it's incredibly powerful. So it might look like Fisher-Price have designed it, but it's very powerful. It's a library that you can add your books to and actually read them from in here. But you can go much further than that, and you can use this to actually edit the files. So you can edit metadata, you can actually edit the content. It's really powerful. It's just very Windowsy, isn't it? But that one at the top is the book that I have just added. We know that because it's got the wrong title on it. But this will enable me to show you what this looks like as an EPUB. So I'm going to double click on that, and it is going to open it in the reader. And you can see just how big that text is. Oh my, it's very big, isn't it? But in here, there is all my content. This percentage in the lower right corner is how far through the book you are. So think like a Kindle. And if I just scroll up, and I am scrolling up a bit, and it's reading the book as we go, we should eventually be able to get to the content. There it is. Marley was dead to begin with. And everything is there. The font that we've used, the fact it's bold, the little symbol that we created, this pull-out quote, and then the actual content itself. Now, it's possibly a little bit big, given how my screen is configured. But if I right-click in here, the options that I've got are similar to those on a Kindle. And one of them is font size. So I can go in here and I can actually change the font size. So if we don't particularly want to be shouted at, we could take that down to about 16 points there, and OK. And that takes it down. And that's what we mean when we say reflowable, where now we can see more words on the page, whereas before we couldn't because of the size of it. And if we scroll back up, that's far better, isn't it? That's much better. But there is the content of the book that we have created, and you could either read that on the screen or transfer it to a Kindle or any other kind of device, and there is the content. And that costs precisely nothing, because you've used Apple Pages, which is totally free, and Calibre, which is totally free. And in here you can take your book into here and then start using this in terms of adding extra content to it, in terms of, let's edit the meta. Right, we haven't said if it's in a series. We haven't got a version number. We can change the cover. We could go and browse for a cover, which I'm sure I had. Let me see if I can extract it. Can I get that from there? Probably could. Let's see if that works. In my other version of this, I actually have this cover here. So you can see this one's slightly different. But if I go into the meta of this one, there's my book cover, and I can copy the cover from that one. So this is the kind of thing that Calibre enables you to do. So if I go into that one, I could paste the cover and swap it for that one. So now I've changed the cover of it. That's far better. I can carry on putting information in here if I want. So for a start, the published date would have been 1800 and something. I can put comments in it if I want. There's lots of things that you can do in here. Really, really useful, including downloading meta and all kinds of stuff. So if we do that, it's going to take the title, and eventually, please wait, it should download the meta. Oh, Renee loves it, doesn't want to change the cover. Right, now what this is enabling you to do is, obviously Christmas Carol is out of copyright. So I would be able to publish this book if I wanted to. And I can use these things in here so you can see how many different versions of them there are. I don't know there whether we're ever going to find the original. Probably not. But what this would do is enable us to use this meta and just add it to our file. I'm not going to do that, but we could do that if we wanted to. So incredibly useful. So I hit save, OK on there, and now my cover's changed. That will now be in that zip file that is the EPUB. So it will actually have added it to that. And I can take that from here and make that available. In fact, the other version of A Christmas Carol, the one that did have that cover on it, was one of our Advent things last year. I think it was the very first one. It was the written copy of A Christmas Carol, and you could download it and install it on whatever. And there you go. So that one is a reflowable file. Now, that's obviously literature. It's a paperback. It's a story. It works like that. But the other type of file is when it doesn't reflow properly. However, There is inside the original A Christmas Carol 8 to 10 illustrations, full page illustrations. And if you wanted to determine where they appeared and the size of them, then you could have added the images and then make that a non-reflowable, make it a fixed layout. So we'll look at the images next week, but we'll also do a completely new book, not A Christmas Carol, you'd probably be grateful for that, with a fixed layout. But that is a reflowable layout and why you would want to use it. And Calibre is definitely worth downloading, whether you're doing this in Scrivener or you're doing it in Pages, or even if you're just consuming books. Calibre is a good tool to have available. And I will be returning to that when we get to the stage with Compile that we're looking at the output from Scrivener. So there we go. Right, let's head back in here. I've no idea what's next. None whatsoever. No, it's not. It's the freebies. Hold your horses, Mike. Hang on. It's the freebies. This time it is the Passion Planner. We looked at that last year. Passion Planner do an entire year of a PDF, and you get to decide whether it's A5, B5 or A4, whether it starts on a Sunday or a Monday, and download a PDF of it. So it's got 50 odd pages in it, one for each week, and it's totally free. It's really worth having, trust me. So Mike will put the link in for that. We did go through it all last year because there's stickers in it and all kinds of stuff. Best way to use that is to put it into some app on iOS where you can use the pencil. So either Notability, probably least said about Notability the better, but Notability, Good Notes or Colornote, which is totally free. Okay, Passion Planner. Yes, planning your passion, Renee. Stroke the notch. Just stroke the notch. It's called Passion Planner, but yeah. I'm assuming because they have a passion for planning. But that's what it's called. So there you go. Right, you're starting, aren't you, with Design Fun in Office?
There's a couple of questions in there about what you've just been doing from Patricia.
Right, okay. Calibre works by adding all single JPEGs or single pages. It can do, yeah. It will export those JPEGs. They will be in that zip file. They'll probably be in a folder of their own, and they'll be referenced. And when you say a single pages, if it's a reflowable file, it will depend on how the reader has got that set up to consume images. You can force them to be full pages by making them a certain size, so like the cover. But yes, they will. It's not particularly Calibre is working by adding all the single pages. It's not Calibre that's adding that. That would be coming, if there were images in there, it would be coming from Pages and it would be coming from Scrivener. And Calibre would render them for you. You would be able to control that to some degree in there, and you could probably add like you just saw me add a page. You could add a page in, but it's actually coming from the source file at that stage. Then do you export into Apple or Scrivener and then upload as a fixed format ebook? I wouldn't export as individual pages and then make it a fixed format. I can make it a fixed format from Apple, from Pages, before I get that far, and that would be the way to do it. Scrivener and making a fixed format, it's more difficult to make a fixed layout from Scrivener than it is Pages. So if it's a fixed layout you want, I would do it in Pages. In terms of where you keep the manuscript while you're working on it, I personally would keep it in Scrivener. And then I would do a compile from Scrivener to RTF and then take it into Pages and do the final layout in Pages, which is why Pages has a place in a workflow for ebooks, even though you've got Scrivener. Because Scrivener is about managing the writing of it. The compile feature is the only option. I mean, it's a great detail tool, but compile is the only way that you can control what the final ebook looks like. There's no tweaking it in Scrivener later, whereas there is in Pages. So I might add in Pages as an after compile option. Right. Let me just catch up. Is there any more? All your pages are pictures. Well, yes, it could certainly be done that way. If all your pages are pictures, you can do that. If that's the case, probably take them into Pages and do it that way. You could do that in Scrivener, but you'd have to add the pages as images. Probably better in Pages with that as a fixed layout, I would say. You're creating Affinity Publisher to create the JPEGs first. Well, Affinity Publisher at the moment doesn't do the EPUB thing. I think their intention was that it was to output to print. A lot of people are disappointed about that. So the EPUB option will probably arrive in one of two ways. I can't give a time scale, but there's usually a huge update to Affinity in February. And we're possibly heading towards a version 2 release. And adding EPUB capabilities would make that worthy of a version 2, if you're with me, because a version 2 would mean a paid update. So it might be coming sooner rather than later. But yeah, that's one way to do it. Leave that with me in case there's a better way, because I did an EPUB workflow from Publisher, but I didn't make them all JPEGs first, because that could give you size issues with a file. We will have a look at that down the line. Mike, make a note of that. Right, are you doing graphic fun with Office first?
Which do you want me to do first?
I don't mind what you want to do first.
Well, what does the slide say?
It says graphic design fun
then
with
I'll
Office.
do graphic design for Office.
Awesome.
When I've pressed record.
You know why it says that first, don't you?
No.
Because I forgot to put a slide in for the other one.
Oh, shall I just go straight into the other one?
No, I'll put one in while... No one will notice, Mike. It'll be seamless. Right.
You can tell it's live.
Oh, we're always live. No, it's not the same if it's not live. Right. I can switch to you whenever you're ready. So
I'm
let me
ready.
know. Oh, he's ready. Awesome sauce. OCD, Mike. OCD. They're not quite lined up and people will notice. Just saying.
There we go.
Line them up.
Right.
Line them up, Mike.
This is a Mac desktop, not a Windows desktop. I'm going to do it on the Mac, not on Windows.
That'll save everybody saying, does this work on the Mac?
It does work on the Mac.
There you go.
Right, last week, Microsoft introduced Cartoon People, which is a new feature in the Office apps. It's available on Windows and on the Mac, but it's only available to 365 subscribers. And at the moment, I think it's only available to people on the Beta Insiders channel. And even if you are on the Beta's Insiders channel, you may not have it yet, because you know from previous discussions we've had, Microsoft tend to roll these things out to, as and when they want to different people at a different speed. No unicorn gifs, Peter. No animated unicorns either. No. Do we have cartoon unicorns? This is Cartoon People, not cartoon. Having said it's Cartoon People, there is more than people in there. And I very stupidly didn't search for unicorns. I missed a trick there.
There you go. Do it live.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to show it to you in all the Office apps. So I'll do Excel first. So I'll just get me a blank worksheet, a blank file. There we go. So what you do is you click on Insert and you go to Icons. And it opens up the Icons panel on the right hand side. Very, very similar on the Windows version. So you've got images, which I'm sure I've talked about these before. These are the stock images that are built into Office. And then we've got the icons, which we definitely have talked about before many times, because I've showed those when I did charts for a start. And then we've got cutout people, which I've also shown before, because I did that in one of the data visualization sessions. I know a lot of these are probably better suited to PowerPoint, but they're in all the Office products, and I did find a use for them in Excel. You've got the illustrations, you've got stickers. Now, if I go and search for Good old unicorn. There we go. There's a unicorn. So there's a unicorn in the stickers. I didn't know that. There's definitely.
But now he does. It's going to get some use, isn't it?
There's definitely unicorns in the icons, because that's where the unicorn clothing company graphic came from. But anyway, we're not here to look at unicorns, are we?
Yep. Yep, we are.
We're here to look at cartoon people. Right, so cartoon people, this is the new one. Okay, so what you've got is you've got this section called new, but I thought they were all new. I guess maybe they're going to down the line add new ones, so the ones that are currently there won't be new. You've got characters. Now who these characters are, I don't know. Some of them are probably out of various comics that I don't recognise and I don't read. I might have read in my wild and what is it? Impetuous. That's the word. Youth. Yeah, things like Viz.
What he means is before he met me.
Yeah, what I mean is Viz. And if you don't know what Viz is, go and Google it. Half characters. I'll actually show you some of these. I'm not just going through a list. Different heads, different faces, upper body, full body, accessories. So you've got some sunglasses there. There's a Freddie Mercury moustache there. There's also, as I said, non-cartoon, non-people things. So they've called them decorations, but they're sort of shapes. Scenes, senior, copy space. That's quite good. I'm not going to read through them all. Gesturing, yeah. I'm sure I could come up with a gesture. Adult.
Leave it alone.
Yeah, leave it alone.
Walk away.
Oh, yes, walk away. No, it's not that kind of adult. Not that kind of adult. Boy, man, side. There's lots of things. Anyway, let's go back to senior. Let's just pick senior at random. Renee says the cutout people are useful. He used them in PowerPoint yesterday. Yes, the cutout people are very, very useful. I've used them in PowerPoint and I've used them in videos as well. Baby's face looks about 13. Yeah. Anyway, let's just pick one. Let's pick this one here. So this is this senior one, and just insert it. Okay. I could have a bunch of figures here. So I could have I don't know how many steps Grandpa has taken each day, and we could be recording Grandpa's steps on his Apple Watch, which is probably going to be as many steps as I've done. Although Lola's allowed me to not walk as many steps as I might, because she likes to stop and sniff at absolutely anything. Anyway, I'm going to turn off the grid lines if I can find the option. Where's it gone? View. Where's view grid lines gone? I can't even see it. Where's view grid lines gone? It's disappeared. Now there it is. It's because I've not got it full screen, so the ribbon is bunched up a bit. That's better. Right, so if I select our person here, I could manipulate our person. So I could go to the graphics format and I could do things like rotate and flip him horizontally, so he's now facing that way. I can also ungroup him. So these cartoon people and the other objects are made up of a set of objects in their own right. So if I go and ungroup, it then says it's an imported picture, not a group. Do I want to convert it to a Microsoft Office drawing object? And I will say yes. That flips it back to how it was. And it's basically broken it apart into its constituent parts. And some of these constituent parts can be further broken. The only way to tell is to select part of it and go up to shape, format, group, and see if you can further ungroup, which I can. So what I could then do is maybe select the jacket. Can I ungroup that even further? Yes, I can. So select maybe the shirt and go to shape format and choose a colour to fill it. So let's give him a yellow shirt, or maybe a gradient based shirt. There we go. Do they sell gradient based shirts? I have no idea. Or we could go for the good old textures that have been in Microsoft Office for years. There we go. A marble shirt. I used that marble for one of my first presentations I did in PowerPoint.
I well remember it.
Yes, Redmond Rovers. We've been down that route before. I won't go down that route again. Let's select the trousers. No, that's the jacket. That's not the trousers, but never mind. We'll give him a blue jacket. There we go. There's the trousers. Let's make him. Let's give him blue trousers, or what we might call blue jeans. Yes. So, oh, he's got a blue suit on. And what can I do about the head? Well, let's make him a little bit grey. There we go. Makes the white beard stand out. Could you drag them into Affinity Designer? What you could probably do, Renee, if it'll let me, I need to regroup them, which I can do with Command and A to select everything there, and then go to Picture Format, Group, Regroup. So that is now one. No, it's not quite one object. I'm dragging the body without the head there. Right, let's try regrouping the lot. That is now one object. Oh, no, it's not one object.
What have you done?
Lost part of his head. Right, let's try this again. This is what I don't like about when you break it apart. You've got to group about 3 or 4 times to get everything. There we go, got everything now. You can right click and do save as picture, and then you'll end up with a PNG or a JPEG, which you can then stick into Affinity Designer or any other app you like, Renee. Yeah, so once you've tinkered about with it in here, that's a technical term, tinkered about. Once you've tinkered about with it in here, you can then save it as a picture and put it anywhere you like.
But is that an editable vector format? Or is it pixels?
I don't know. Save as picture.
Why don't you just copy it and paste it into Affinity Designer and find out?
Okay, didn't think of doing that. All right, so copy Affinity Designer. It'll now bounce in the dock forever. Oh no.
You see, there you are, criticising.
Right. What do I do? Start a new one. New from clipboard.
Yes. No. Well, you can.
Right.
Just paste it and see what you get.
Right, I've pasted it.
Right, in the layers panel, what is it?
An image.
Then that's not editable.
Right.
So no is the answer to that.
Right. Yeah. You can save it as an SVG. Would that make it editable?
Yes, try that.
Right, so if I go into here, right click, save as picture, save as an SVG, stick that on my desktop, go back to Affinity Designer, create a new file, and then why has it brought that up? Is that the last template I used or something? That was something you set up for me.
Probably.
Right, and then insert. Can I just paste it?
Yes, try pasting it.
Yeah, there we go, curves and things.
Yes, that's right.
Right, there we go.
He's so out of his comfort zone with design stuff. It's like a puppet show, do this, do that.
Yeah.
Right, as you were. Yes, Renee is the answer to that. You can do it.
Right.
Oh, look, Renee's gone into shout mode. He's been blinded by the notch, that's the problem.
Right, so let me show you some other things in here. Again, back to Cartoon People. What I'm going to do now is I am going to pick an upper body this one here. There's an upper body. Before I click insert, I'm also going to pick a face. And I'm also going to pick a head. So there we go. So there's 3 elements. Click insert. And then I'm going to just drag these out. So separate them. I will drag the head onto the body. And I will drag the face onto the head. There we go. That looks cool. I'm also going to pick one of the accessories. So let's go with the cap and let's go with the glasses. Okay, you can actually, oops, let's just undo that. So stick the cap on, even though this head already had a hat on, and stick the glasses on. And there we go, a totally different person. Renee's saying top notch.
I think he means the feature, dear.
Yeah, right, let's make it bigger. So literally just resize it. Obviously you want to make the head in proportion, or maybe not. Make the head bigger. There we go. Obviously make the cap bigger. Make the face, I'll do the glasses in a minute. Let's get the face on there. And get the glasses on. There we go. How cool is that? Apart from the cap being a little bit wonky. There we go. Right, so that is Excel. It's very similar in PowerPoint and very similar in Word, but I'm going to show you those anyway because there are some slight differences. So I'll shut the Excel one down and I'll go into PowerPoint next, start a new presentation and make it a blank layout. And then to start with, it's the same. You go to insert, you go to icons, and then you go to cut out people. Not cut out people, cartoon people. Go to cartoon people. You get the same set of cartoon people. So what I'm going to do here is, no, I won't pick baby. I don't think there's any dogs. I could try. No, there isn't. There's no dogs. Yeah, we should complain about that, shouldn't we? So let's pick a...
Lola would, but she's so laid back.
Yeah, let's pick an upper body. And where was the heads gone? The heads were back here. Well, let's pick a head. Because you can't really have a face without a head, can you? So let's pick that face. Insert. And then... That probably wasn't the best idea picking that person, although I could break it apart because it's already got a head. So I could... Now, talking about breaking it apart, there isn't the ungrouping. Well, there's the group button there, but it's greyed out. So in PowerPoint, you've actually got to right-click on it and say Convert to Shape, as you told me earlier. So once you've converted it to shape, you can then start removing elements. Removing the eyebrows first. And then removing the face. I'll remove the whole head actually. That's going to be a bit quicker. So you can see I'm removing it bit by bit. Yes, this is about the level of my my graphics design. You're saying nothing, are you?
Not a thing.
No, right, okay, that'll do. Let's drag the head on there and drag the face on there. And there we go. That actually looks pretty cool.
Let's save that.
Yeah, Paul says, nice feature, but I'd only use it if all I had was Office too fiddly. It's, yeah, I suppose it can be a bit fiddly. But yes, it's some nice features. maybe Microsoft have run out of real things to add, so they've now decided to add some toys. Right, so that's in PowerPoint, and I will show you in Word. Now with Word, I've got a document already set up so that we can have the text flowing around the graphic. For this, I inserted a new page, and then rather than having to play around with the thing in the existing text, and then I'll delete the new page afterwards. So go on to my new page and then go to Insert Icons and go to Cartoon People. Where's the Cartoon People? Cut out people. There it is, Cartoon People. Okay, so for this one, I am going to select. I think what I'll do for this one is I will choose a scene. And the scene I'll choose is... I'll choose that scene there. Okay, so I have this scene here. Now, what it's actually done is it's brought it right up with the text, because it's as Word does with any image, it treats it as an inline graphic. So with it selected, I'm going to go to Wrap Text and choose Tight, and that then means I can position it anywhere I want. So I can just turn that panel off to give myself a bit more screen space. So I can drag it around anywhere I want. It makes it more free format. Now, with this selected, I'm going to ungroup, and then each of these elements is an object. So I'll select the clock and go to Shape, Format, Arrange, Rotate, Flip Horizontal. So the clock has now flipped around. I'm going to move this plant. Looks like a cactus, doesn't it? And I'll place the cactus on the sofa, and I will need to bring this forward. So bring that to the front. There we go. And twist it around. Wouldn't like to be sitting there on that cactus. And then I'll break this bit apart. So let's, where's my group gone? Ungroup that. And let's just take the plant, put the plant on the sofa. You can see I'm really creative. Bring this to the front. There we go. And change the colour of the sofa. What colour should we have for the sofa? Let's make it a goldy sofa with a white outline. There we go. Right, and then if I wanted to group all these back together, just select them all and arrange, group, and that should now be one object. As long as, oh, I have missed something. I've missed the books and the sofa actually. So there's quite a few things being missed there because they were broken apart. I do agree with you, Paul. It is a bit fiddly to reselect everything. Come on. I think that's it. Yeah, I've got pretty much everything. I'll just delete that one. There we go. Right, so if I now drag this image and drop it into the text, I can then have the text just wrapped around the image. Make the image smaller, make it bigger, just position it anywhere I want it. And there we go. So that is how to use the new Cartoon People feature in Word, Excel and PowerPoint. Throw the books on the couch as well, says Renee. Yeah, why not? Okay, do we have any more questions? Kim's slightly concerned about the decor at MacBites headquarters. I didn't say that was our decor, Kim. It was just a demo. No, we don't have a yellow sofa, and we certainly don't have cactuses on the sofa. Lola wouldn't have it, would she?
We can't have any plants that are actually alive.
No, that is very true.
My plants are fabulous. They're plastic.
Yes.
And it works incredibly well.
Okay, so have you got your other separator slide?
Oh, yes. It's no, they won't notice if you don't say. See, it's all organised. Numbers. Importing and exporting pivot tables. See, all sorted.
Right, okay. Numbers, importing and exporting pivot tables. And where are we importing and exporting from and to? Well, the answer to that is obvious, isn't it? Excel. So my beloved Excel, yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this Excel file, which is the MacBites stats, the one that I showed you a couple of weeks ago in numbers, but this is the Excel version. So let's just enable the macros. Okay, so I have got all the previous shows here in the datasheet. And I have got some pivot tables there, giving us some counts of how many shows we've done in each year and how many shows we've done of each type, and broken down by type and year. And then we've got the durations, the minutes, hours and seconds. So that is the Excel version of this file. That's the one I actually use. But let's imagine the unthinkable happened and I decided to walk away from Excel. But I still had to keep that file up to date, and the only thing I've got is numbers. So I need to open this file in numbers. So I do a right click, open with numbers. And what it should do is pop up a warning. So here's a list of what changed when you open it in numbers. Pivot tables that contain unsupported date groupings may look different. When I used a different Excel file, the first time I tried this, it said pivot tables that contain more than the maximum number of columns may be converted to tables, but it didn't tell me what the maximum number of columns was. And I had pivot tables with 2 columns that were converted to tables. I'm sure that's not right. Anyway, what it's done is it's brought the data in. So there's the actual show titles. There's the durations, the release date and the show type. Now the problem with the durations is it's brought it in as a date and time, the 31st of December 1899, which is a date that Excel doesn't even recognise, and I don't even know if numbers recognises that as a date. And then it's put a time in, and the time, although that looks like 1:57 in the morning, that is actually the duration of the show. Same with the dates. I'm not sure if those are treated as real dates. Oh, I think they are, but they're in US format. So I would certainly have to do some date and time manipulation on this. But the pivot tables themselves, it's brought the sheets in, and the pivot tables themselves have come in. They are being treated as pivot tables. We know that because when I click into one of them, I can click on organize, and I do actually have the pivot table options there. So if I wanted to click refresh, it will work. If I wanted to change anything about this pivot table, so for example, I didn't want to include the percentages, I can drag that away and it removes the percentages. So the pivot tables have come in. The durations we've got problems with, and that's because of the problems that we've got with the raw data. But apart from that, it has actually brought in the data. So it works in a fashion. It depends on what data you've got, but I would say that has worked pretty well. The taking the file from Excel, opening it up in Numbers, and actually getting a pivot table. The formatting seems to have gone a little bit wonky, but that can all be sorted out with the format options here. So you could just change it to a table style from within Numbers, and you've got all of the standard formatting options to use with pivot tables, as I covered last week. So that is taking an Excel file and loading it into Numbers. But what about the other way around? So let's take a Numbers file and open it up in Excel. First of all, you can't actually open a Numbers file directly in Excel. What you'd do is you'd open it up in Numbers, and this was the file that I used last week. So there is my data. That is the Unicorn Clothing Company sales data. And I created 4 pivot tables, and then I created some charts from those pivot tables. So if I go to File, Export to Excel, tell it that I want to have 1 Excel sheet per number sheet, and click Next. And I'll just call it Pivot Tables 1 and put it on my desktop and export it. And it then tells me what the problems are. Some formulas couldn't be exported. Last values were retained. So there's obviously some incompatible formulas, so it's taking the actual value. Table locations have been modified to accommodate export to a single worksheet. And that's going to be the way that Numbers deals with tables. Autofit for series value labels was turned off, so labels may overlap. And filtered table cells were exported hidden. So let's close this down and open up the Excel version, which is this one here. So yes, what I had done in the pivot table in Numbers is I'd applied a filter to one of the pivot tables, and therefore the certain rows here are hidden. So rows 5, 6, 7 and 8. So I can unhide those. There we go. I then have to sort out the row height. But what's it made of the pivot tables? Well, actually, the pivot tables have come in as pivot tables. And we know that because when we click into them, we have the Analyze tab and the Design tab. And I can do a refresh. I can go to Data, Refresh All. There we go. I've got the pivot table fields panel. I could drag in another column. So let's just move this out of the way, cut it and paste it over here. So if I wanted to see revenue per month per country, I could drag a month name and drop it just above country. Why didn't that work? There we go. Okay. I want to swap those two over. That's it. So we've got the month, and then we've got the countries, and then we've got the revenue. So that is how you can take data from Excel into Numbers and Numbers into Excel and retain the pivot tables. Any questions? I don't see any questions. So
they're still stunned about the comic people.
Yes, I like the comic people. I even got around to doing a YouTube video this week on it.
So you can watch again.
Yeah.
On demand. Okay. I'm sure the questions will come in, Mike. Just
I'll keep my own questions.
Just a matter of time. Where did I sling that to?
Or I could add a comic person in there, couldn't I?
Nicely done. Saw what you did there. Right, okay. Where are you going? This is totally bizarre. There was an update, wasn't there? And it upset everything. There we go. Right. There was an update to PowerPoint and all the buttons, you couldn't tell what the buttons were. They all went to circles. And now it's opening up on the wrong screen. And it's actually leaving PowerPoint open in edit mode. This is like breaking the internet, isn't it? If I edited a slide in edit mode while it was presenting, what would happen? Well, it's already managed to get itself 2 mouse pointers, so we should leave it alone, shouldn't we? Oh, and now look, it's broken. Oh, come on. Right, so we're going to look at compile. Hopefully you're seeing what I'm seeing and not what you shouldn't be seeing, crying out loud. Yes, so we said there was a new compile, so we're going to have a little bit of a recap because, it's 2 weeks ago. Right, there was a new compile added in version 3. If you have compile settings from version 2, they will translate over to version 3. But you'll probably sit and look at them and think, where's everything gone? So it was a complete rebuild as far as they were concerned. Last time we created a manuscript. And we also created a paperback. And what I said we'd do was, look, that we didn't make any changes. They were the compile settings that it shipped with. And there was a lot in there that, 1, you don't particularly need, and 2, that you might want to change. So how do you take a built-in compile setting and customize it? We will, in the future, be looking at making one completely from scratch. But at the moment, we're going to make a couple of changes to the manuscript one and the paperback one. So let's head off and do that. I still haven't plugged the video cameras in, so I've no idea if they're going to be working yet. We will see. Time will tell. So this is Scrivener and this is our Christmas Carol thing. A weird thing's just happened for a start, which is why that one says version 3.0154. It wouldn't save anything to it. It said I was out of disk space, but seeing as though I've got 250 gig free, I didn't think that was the reason. So anyway, I think I've fixed it. So what we had last time, we did a compile. We did a compile in the real world and we ended up with this. This was the manuscript. And there's a couple of issues with it. So 1, it's got my name at the top and we don't particularly want that. And 2, it's got this kind of weird separator thing going on here. What's wrong with that? And various other issues with it. You might want to make some changes as well. So that's what we've got going on there. That's what it looked like when it was output. What I then do is put that to one side and go back in here and think, right, what do I need to change? So the first thing is to know where the metadata is stored, and pretty much it's all over the place. So you need to go into the Scrivener preferences and go to General. That will initially be on Startup, but go to General and choose Author Information. And this is where it gets half of its information from. So, and we'll put down there MacBites headquarters, and we're in Sale, although that's not particularly a town, a city, it's a town, and we don't spell Cheshire like that, crying out loud, woman. Right, there we go. So there's some data. You can put as much in as possible. So if we put in United Kingdom and phone number, no, we don't do phone numbers. We never do phone numbers. But if we did, it would be 44 for the country, and it would be that, and it would then be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, but we don't do phone numbers. I said somebody rang me the other day.
Did they?
From Sheffield. Yeah, well, when I say they rang me, they did ring me, but
I got a call from Sheffield.
My phone doesn't ring because obviously people. But I thought, Sheffield. The last one from Sheffield was like a scam call, so I just blocked the number.
I've had one from the United Kingdom and one from Ashford in Kent today.
I think you'll find Ashford in Kent is still in the United Kingdom, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Overrun with immigrants apparently, but still in the United Kingdom. So that's one place that you can put your metadata. Now, the metadata that you put in there really does need to be the generic metadata, but that's where it's pulling it from. That's one place it's coming from. So we'll get rid of that. But there is another place that it's coming from. So once you open up a compile setting, and this one is the manuscript one, there's another place that it's pulling metadata from. So we pick our format for the output, compile 4. And I had that set to RTF to create the compile that I used earlier. But I'm back to PDF now. Then I choose which format I want. Now, this is a collection of settings, remember. And we took the default ones, which were the manuscript one in Courier, and we made our own copy, which is why it's now in project formats and not Scrivener formats. And we also had a paperback format, and again, we duplicated that, and it says custom. Right, the reason we did that was, at least while you're learning, you don't want to make any changes to the main formats. So my recommendation would be that you create a copy of it and edit that. Customise that to your heart's content. So in the manuscript, when that's selected over here, we're going to skip over the section layouts for the moment and go over to where all of the settings can be configured. And inside here, we have more metadata. So some of it is coming from here. Now, what exactly we'll see and why it's coming from certain places will depend on the layout that we have. But we'll look at that in a minute. That's just the second place to know where the metadata is coming from. If you recall, what we actually have in here is the first option is what to compile. And initially it's set to manuscript, which is why there is a tick in everything in here, because everything in there is inside the manuscript. You can choose other options. You could choose just an individual stave, you could choose a current selection, or you could run a search and just say print the search results, compile the search results. In this file, I would have that set to manuscript, but I have other files, like this one, for example, this one. With this one, hang on, where are we? Reminder for today. There you go. Is that today? That is us, isn't it? Yep, that's today. There we go. Right. With this one, if I were to compile in here, I never want the whole thing. So if I'm sending a MacBites mail, I only ever want the current selection. And luckily, that remembers the current selection. So it remembers that I said current selection in this file. But when I'm in the other file, so my this one here, why is that full screen? That's better. Right, when I'm in here, it knows that that is manuscript. So it remembers that as well, which is particularly useful. That saves me a ton of time. Right, why is everything covered up in here? That's better. Can't see the chat when I do that. Excellent, there we go. So it remembers on a per file basis, which is great, because I'm always going to want the manuscript here, but in the other one, I'm always going to want an individual piece or pieces, which I will select. So I want it to remember selection. Then we have the second option, which is the additional metadata. Then we have kind of options, tools, I would say. Whether you want to keep the footnotes and stuff like that. I always make sure that I remove the trailing white space. If I don't, I could find that there's an extra carriage return and it comes out in the compile. But I can, by putting a tick in there, have that removed automatically. Another option that might be useful is if you delete the struck through text. So if you want to keep that text as a reference, but you don't want it output, you could put a tick in that box. So they're the options that you have in there. We did an example, the most requested example, which was replacing something at the point of compile. If you remember, we included Timmy, lucky Timmy. He became Ebenezer. So we did that last time as well. And then there is the cover. And the cover could be, it says the first image in the front matter folder. That never works for me. I wish it did. Because if it did, I wouldn't have to make a change every time I go into MacBites. But it just doesn't seem to work for me. But I do have a cover in there. There's the cover that we were using before. So there is a cover in there that I can select. So point of that being, that's where we were up to, and we compiled it. And when we compiled it, we got our output, which is this over here, give or take. Right, so this was our manuscript. There's a few issues with it. Right, the first issue was that had my name on it and not Charles Dickens, but we know that we have put Charles Dickens in as specific metadata somewhere. So clearly that is not pulling through the correct data. The other issue we've got here is that we've got this separator. So we have a separator there that we might not want that particular separator. And why is it just kind of randomly appearing as well? So we've got it here, we've got it here. It must represent something. So what is it and where's it coming from? And that's how you set about compile. I was creating something for Mike about a week ago, probably last Sunday. And I said you could do that in Scrivener. And I made this compile setting. And then we had to export, we had to do the compile about 25 times to get it spot on accurate. And I said, you've had enough of this, haven't you? And he said, yes. I'd rather do it by hand. But I said, the thing is, when it's right, you'll never need to touch it again. You'll just export, compile, and you'll never have to look at it again. But the first few times you do it, you need to look at it and say, is that exactly what I want? Or is that not what I'm looking for? And then tweak it. And that's the stage we're at now. We need to know where that's coming from and why is it there? And why has that got the wrong name at the top? Okay, remembering that this is actually a manuscript. So where is it all coming from? How is it all happening? Well, there's multiple places that you need to go to look at stuff. But what we're doing is we've already said we want it compiled for PDF. So that is number 1 at the top, compile for PDF. The next step is to look at the format. That determines what it looks like. This bit determines why it looks that way in terms of this is the mapping section. And then there's all of the tweaks and what over there. So we are at this stage where we're looking at the format. And if you right click on there, you can edit the format. And that takes you into this dialog box, which you will start at the top there. And this dialog box is obviously huge. But to give you an idea of what you can do as you go through it, this was based on the manuscript Courier compile setting. And in it, there are section layouts. Now, section layouts, everything you see listed in there, come out of here, or what you see in the middle. It actually says section layouts there. And each one of these is listed in there. So all of these. So when we right click this and edit it, and we look at the section layouts, which is the first option on the left, this is what it's talking about. That's where you will see them. Some of them are bold and some of them are not. The bold ones mean they're in use. That at least one of your scrivenings, you've told it that it's a chapter heading or you've told it it's a titled section, but you've not said anywhere that it's a part number or a part title or a chapter title, because they are not bold. So one option, when you're confident enough to do this, so once you've been using it for a while and you're confident enough to do this, you don't need these if they're not in use. If you're never going to use that, as you click on it, it actually says in here that that one is totally unused. That one is assigned to the part heading, but you haven't got that assigned to anything. So it's like a daisy chain. The chapter title's unused. The heading is assigned to heading, but we haven't got any headings. The chapter's assigned to chapter, but we haven't got any chapters. So you see where we're going with this. Right, in relation to what these actually mean. So let's say we have a titled section. What do we want to see from our scrivening? So how this works, let's come out of here and actually show you in here what we've got. If we switch this to an outline view, you can see that we have metadata attached to each bit of this, and it says, I'm a chapter heading, I'm a chapter heading. If we were to open all of that, so why are we not opening all of that? That's better. We can see that we have section applied, we have section applied, we have a chapter heading applied, and then we have scenes applied. We do that in here when we're working with the scrivenings, but it has no impact whatsoever in here. We're doing it, we're assigning these, telling it what it is. So stave 2, you are a chapter heading. By choosing chapter heading in that drop down, you're saying you are a chapter heading because it doesn't know. It doesn't know what it is until you tell it what it is. And by doing that in here as you work, when you come to the compile, you can then tell it what that should look like. So you are a chapter heading, and this is what you should look like. Okay? Now, interestingly, in relation to this is really unusual. We want to tell Scrivener what to include in the compile. Do you want the title? Do you want the metadata? Do you want the synopsis? Do you want the notes? And do you want the text? And if we look at this chapter heading, nothing's ticked. That is really unusual. If there's nothing ticked, then nothing will come through. Is that right? It is. So why is it there? And it's there so it has the words chapter 1. But we're not working in chapters. But that's what we have. It's there. So I'm looking in here and seeing whether we've actually got that to look at, but it doesn't look like we have. So first of all, this is extra text that will be added to our manuscript that we didn't have to type. That's what will be in there. So I could, for a start, change that to staves, because that's what we would want. If I need to do that, then I need to go in there. Oh, you are not letting me do that, you swine. Let's have a look in here. There we go, chapter. So that says chapter, and this is a code that will mean that it will show me the chapter number, but it will also write it out in text. So that code is actually $T for show me the text of the chapter number. But obviously it says chapter number at the beginning, and I want it to say stave, and that's where I would do that, in here. Now, that is very unusual. What you do have down here for pages and sections is you do have some content. So if it's a section and it's a titled section, yes, I want to see the title, and yes, I want to see the text. Some of them, you want to see all of it. Not often, to be honest, if it's a book, but sometimes you do. If it's a new page, you don't want the title, but you do want the text. So most of the time in a book, you want the text. It's as simple as that. But things like this for part numbers that's unused, and what was our other one? We had one of these that was unused somewhere. That one's unused. I can literally delete it because I can create whatever I want later. So I can actually delete that, no harm done. That one's unused, so I can delete that. So don't be afraid to simplify this. You don't want to come into here and see 50 things that you can't actually use or you don't intend to use. So you can simplify this before you go any further. Right, that's only the start of it. So compile is incredibly complicated in terms of setting it up for the first time. That's only the section layouts. The next step is separators. And what you see in here are default separators for folders and text files. And they're different. So if we look at the folders one, it's a page break and then an empty line between sections. In the text files, oh look, we have an empty line and then something custom, and the something custom is the hash symbol, the one we're trying to get rid of. Now, I don't suggest that you delete that symbol, so custom, nothing, because you'd never know if it had worked. It could have been a different change you made that made that work. So what I do is I put something like XXX at the end of it, and let's see if that's where the problem's coming from. So I would save that at that point. Come on, where you go? And do a compile. And actually have a look at it. So I'm going to start adding numbers onto this because I have compiled this before. Right, it's having a think about it. It's doing it. Are you going to open it? No, you're not. Okay, let's go into the Finder and find it. That is this one. So I'm going to open that. And let's have a look how we're going. Things are starting to pull together here. I've no idea why it's got Mike's name on it, but hey, that's interesting. But it gives me the word count. It's got the information that I just put in. It's even got an outline over here with stave 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. It's got links into it. The Dickens has been pulled up, so that was saying Giles before, but because I've set it correctly, it's working. Let's have a look down. Well, clearly it's not that. So I put XXX after that and it didn't come through. So it wasn't that one that's causing my problem here. And that's what I mean when I say you compile it, you check, and then you start again. So let's go back into our compile and see if we can actually find where that is coming from and what the issue is. So back into edit the format, and it's this dialog that you won't have to revisit in the future. Once you've fixed it, you won't have to revisit it. Right, well, it definitely wasn't that. So I'm going to leave that one alone. Let's have a look at this one. Now this one's just using the defaults, so it's not that one either. A titled section. Oh, we have a blank line separator. We also have a blank one there between the section text, but not on a new page. So we've narrowed it down to one of these two. One of these. And this one, it has it twice. It's got that separator between the sections as well. So what I can do to find out for sure is actually put that as that's number 1, that's number 2, and this is number 3. And that, when I compile it, will tell me precisely which one's causing the problem, the one that I don't want to see. So this is just an example of how to work with compile and how to troubleshoot it or customize it to your own way of working. So we'll save that to version 3. We'll export it. It's going to open it automatically in there. That's not it yet. There we go. That's it. And let's have a look. It's the first one, and that is how you troubleshoot it. So if I don't want to see that, let's keep going down. Is it on any of the others? No, it doesn't look like it. It's just that number 1 that we want rid of. So I want to get rid of that between Charles Dickens and the preface. Okay, let's hide that and go back into here. And now I should be able to sort that out easily. Go back in and edit it. Go to my separators. And it was the one that was number 1, which is that one. And I don't need to use anything. Nothing. Blank line separator. Nothing. Let's save that. Go back in and compile that again. This one's going to be number 4. And this time when it opens automatically, it should be fixed. Fingers crossed, eh? Not good. Have a look over here. I've got half a question I can see, but it's covered up. Right, before you close the 2 version, wouldn't you want to look further to see if those X's showed up somewhere else? I would, Patricia. I'm showing you this as principle. But yes, I would. I have taken, I think the longest I took, oh, that was a bad one, was 3 days to sort out a compile. Every time I thought it was just right, there was something else. But the thing is, once you've done it, so yes, I would look through the entire file. And what I would do is actually do it on an iPad and mark it up with a pencil as I went. And then I would go back to Scrivener and I would work through and make sure that, write down the changes that I'd made for everyone to see if it worked. But this is just an example, so hopefully it will have disappeared by the time we go down to here. Right. Preface. There we go. It's disappeared. That's what we want. So it's really a case of being iterative in this. And one thing I fixed was the stave. The second thing I fixed was this over here. It's just working through to your preferences. Right, let's get that out of the way. I have no idea what that was, but let's get rid of that one and go back into there again. So just to show you the rest of what you actually have in here and what you might need to change. Some things you have are the styles. Now, the styles that are in here are unique to compile. These are compile styles. Do you need them? No. A lot of the compile doesn't have any styles in it at all. Mine does for MacBites, and it does for the email export. But that's because it needs it. I'm using styles in a rather unique way, but normally the styles will dictate what font it looks like, etc. So you can include that in the styles. Why would you do that? When is it better to do that? Well, if you're going to have, for example, a particular font and you want it applied to 5 levels of headings and some body text, you might as well make a style for that. Otherwise, you're going in and in your section layouts here, you're setting everything up manually in the formatting. You're saying override this and make it look like X. Which means if you change your mind, you've got to go through and change 6 separate layouts. So sometimes it's better to use a style. Right, then we've got our text layouts. These are extra bits that it will use for hyphenation, whether you want to avoid widows and orphans. So it's really the layout of the text once it's compiled. The script writing options are unique for the script writing compiles. Then you've got your title links. Do you actually want them updated? Do you want the links in the titles? Maybe not. It depends. There's not much point in putting links in there if it's for print. So what you see in here, this entire area, so all of this bit here, you'll see how long it is for a start. It's all determined by what you select up here. So if I choose docx up there, we get a compatibility option added at the bottom, but nothing else changes. If we change it to HTML, a couple of things disappear because they're just not relevant. RTF, other things appear. So that's, make sure first of all, before you make any changes, you are actually on the format that you intend to use. Then you've got transformations. So those transformations, whether you want to convert italics to underlines and smart punctuation, etc. I never want smart punctuation. I hate it. So I always make sure that that changes to dumb punctuation. But that's all I do with it. I don't colour highlight, hyperlinks or anything like that. I don't really want them underlined. It's just things you want to change. So they look one way in Scrivener, but when you come to export them, they look another way. Then you've got global replacements. So for example, if you've got something in here that says table, it will change that. And what it will do is replace the text with the number. So it's a number of a table. You can't really do that in Scrivener itself. You can put in like a placeholder for it, but you don't want to have to manually change the numbers. So you let Scrivener do it for you by replacing it at the point of compile. Then you've got your statistics. What do you want included in the word counts? And that's very important when you're creating manuscript. And obviously this is a manuscript. Then you've got your tables. Do you want tables that you have in your Scrivener documents stitched together? Now, I don't have tables in Scrivener, ever. It's text. That's it. I leave it alone. But some people may want to have tables. It can do tables in a very RTF kind of way. I will talk about quotes in a second. Right, then there's your footnotes and your comments. Do you want to override the font? Do you want to see them? Do you want them at the bottom? How do you want them numbered? So there's lots and lots of options for both footnotes, which are at the bottom of every page, and endnotes that are at the end of the document. So in here, footnotes, end of the page, endnotes, end of the document, or you can go before or after page breaks. So I used to have endnotes in my essays when I was writing legal essays, and I would choose at the end of the document for endnotes, although every single one of us called them footnotes, but they were at the end of the essay, so actually they were endnotes. So they're all the options you've got for that. You obviously need page settings to determine the size of the page. You can use the project page settings, or you can have them set up independently, and in here it's got independent, so that it's set up for A4 with a margin of 1 inch, but you can change that. So you can go in here, you can actually change that in the compile. So you could duplicate one of these compiles when you've finished it and it's like, that's perfect. You could duplicate it and have one with margins of 1 inch and one with margins of 0.5 inch if that was what you wanted. But get one working first. And then you've got any PDF settings. So these are PDF specific settings. One of the ones that I do enable is the generate PDF outline, and that's what gives you an outline when you are actually in PDF Expert, which is this over here. It actually gives you this, which are also clickable to make them, to navigate them. So definitely worth turning that one on. Right, was it our replacements or our transforms? Right, Patricia says, please explain the quotes. I have straight quote marks and curly all mixed up when I'm going from Word to Scrivener and back to Word. Right, well, what the option in here is allowing you to do is, irrespective of what the quotes look like in Scrivener, if you have any smart punctuation, which is the ones that automatically goes curly, then it will convert them to straight. And I have that turned on because if I compile to an email, with curly brackets, curly quotes, it puts in hieroglyphics. So I always, on the odd occasion that one smart quote sneaks through, at the compile, it will be converted to dumb punctuation. You'll notice there's no option to go the other way. It's let's make them simple at the point of compile. If you are copying and pasting between Word and stuff, then that's probably what's causing the issue. You've got a couple of options. If you are copying backwards and forwards, and the format doesn't matter. So when I say format, I don't mean the quotes. I mean stuff like what font it is and what size it is and what colour it is. If that doesn't matter, then paste as plain text, and hopefully they won't automatically be converting to anything. But if you've got a mixture, then by putting a tick in that box, at least at the point of compile, they'll be converted and you will have consistency through your document. So if you're happy with dumb punctuation, leave that turned on. Your other option is to go through it in Scrivener when you are at the point of, right, I'm ready to compile, this is finished, it's complete. Then you could go through and do a search and replace. That would solve the problem. But I think it's the copying backwards and forwards that's going to be doing the issue. You can turn it off globally on your Mac. Let's have a look where that is. Is it keyboard? It's in stupid places. I swear it is. Right, text. Right, here's some stuff I've got that it kind of basically does its own thing. But do you want to use smart quotes and dashes? And I never do. So that's turned off. Before we go any further, that's turned off. It's turned off at system level. From memory, you used to turn it off or have to turn it off at Scrivener level as well. But by default, that's turned on. And I find that is ludicrous. Let's get rid of it. So I turn it off at system level, off at Scrivener level, and convert any that do manage to get through at that level. Is it the same with export? No, because export, you don't have this level of control. So if you mean export from Scrivener, no. The export from Scrivener is to particular formats, and it doesn't push it through compile. So it doesn't go through this copy and replace job as it comes out. I very seldom do an export from Scrivener. I think the only time I do an export is when I'm going to OPML, which is outline language. It turns my Scrivener file into an outline that I could then open in, for example, Omni Outliner. And I do go backwards and forwards with Omni Outliner stuff, but probably not on the same file. So no, that's a compile-only feature. So hopefully that's explained that. So let's save that. And I think that one's done, isn't it? That one is done. The other one we used was the paperback one. And looking at this, what options did we have in here that were causing a problem? Let's go into the edit format and have a look at it. Now you'll notice for this one, it's still set to PDF at the top. We've got a whole range of extra layouts, but we're not using them. So unused. So they could be deleted. When do you delete them and when don't you? If you think you might want to use them in the future and they're set up correctly, leave them be. Leave them be. But if they're not, and you think, I'm never going to use that, I'm at the point now where, I know exactly what I want in my compile and I don't want that, then you could delete them. You can always add them back later. Right, I'm having a quick look through here. Right, this one, chapter with title, isn't actually used. But we would have had the same issue with this as we had with the last one. It's going to say chapter 1, but it's not a chapter, it's a stave. But we have title options, and we have the word chapter, and we can change that to stave. So there's an example of some of the things that we can change. I am looking through these, and we're looking okay with the rest of them. They look okay. But again, it's exactly the same principle. Particularly that the only difference here is it's a different format, so you've got a different range of section layouts. But over here on the left-hand side, every single section is identical to the previous. In terms of, we have section layouts, we have separators, we have styles. What's in them is different. So in our section layouts, we've got many more section layouts. In the separators, because we've got more sections, we've got more options in the section layouts. In the styles, we have more styles and they are different. But in terms of where they are, and what you do with them, they are identical. So once you've mastered this with one, you should be off to the races. Right, Patricia says, sending chapters to others for review and contests need the export feature since you haven't learned the compile, but you'll just learn the compile. You will be amazed when you start using the compile. What you would do if you're, like you said, review and contests, you could have 2 different compiles entirely for those. So for a contest, I'm assuming sometimes they define what they want in terms of spacing and font and meta information on the page. So you could set all of that up in the compile. In fact, if let me know if that's right. Do you get a set of instructions as what it should look like? If you do, and you can dig one out and send it to me, then I will create the compile based on that, and you can see how you can create one from scratch based on that. So let me know that. Review, I would imagine review is going to Word and then you're getting stuff back and you're trying to backtrack it into here. In which case, the compile for that, I would ask the receiving person what they want. What's easiest for them? And these compiles, you can create an entire library of compiles. You can have 50 and 60 of them if you want, and then just import them into a particular file that you're working with, and that way you've got just what you need in that particular file. But contests, oh, you have specifics, awesome. Right, we'll dig one out that you're likely to reuse, and I'll use that when we build one from scratch. And that way you can see how to build it up from scratch. Okay, so let's do our save on that, and we've compiled that one before. So that's editing what you've already got. Obviously, the next step is some of these will be almost there, but just not quite. And those are the ones that you duplicate and tweak. But others, there's nothing remotely like you're looking for. Nothing at all. And for that, you'll need to start from scratch. So the one that I intended to use for the demo for that was creating, in the course that I'm doing. So let's pop out of here and let's go into the course. And let's get that full screen. That's better. Oh, let's trim this down a bit. Right. That one needs to have specific things for output. Can you just put my email address in there, Mike, for Patricia? This one needs particular outputs that don't exist. So this was the one that I was going to show how to do it from scratch, but they're going to be very, very different. One of mine's going to be very short, but Patricia's needs to be the entire content of it. So we'll do both. There you go. We'll do both. I will work out if that's going to be next week or the week after. I will find out and I will let you know. But let's move on to what's next. Oh, what is next? Oh, I know what's next. That's next, isn't it? Oh, it's not moving. It's not moving. Right, that. Okay. Right, issue we've got here, I haven't got the cameras plugged in. So in the meanwhile, in the chat, entertain yourselves.
In other news,
yes,
I've just added a fennel to the shopping.
Oh, well done.
Yes.
With 4 minutes to go.
No, 20 minutes to go.
Oh, I thought it was half.
23:46.
Why? No.
I don't know.
Don't go.
It's always been 23:46.
It's always been weird. Right, okay. First of all, I need the cameras. Need the cameras set up, need to move this. So we're going to do some kind of unboxing at some point. Right, so can I have the cameras, Mike? Let's see if the cameras are working. Right, what I'm going to have to do, I think, at the moment, make sure this is working, is flick you to that one. Right, that frees me up so I can see my screen and see if everything's working. Right, shall we try that one? Let's try that one. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I think that's plugged in. Right. Oh, moment of truth. Is it going to work or not? Is it going to... Oh, that looks like it's working.
Is Scrivener a one-time purchase or a sub?
It's
a one-time, isn't it?
It's a one-time purchase. It has been out 4 years, but he's very slow in developing, so the next version is unlikely for at least 2 years because he's not said he's working on it. So, yes, it is. And don't forget the 50% discount by completing NaNoWriMo. Right.
Oh, my keyboard died.
Oh, did you kill it?
Finally. No, that's the first time.
I think you've beaten it into submission with the stick, basically. Right. According to that, it's working.
Right. So I've filled in time by talking about the shopping.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. According to this, it's working, but let's have a look. The NaNoWriMo thing, in terms of Scrivener, you basically sign up for NaNoWriMo. Now, I know we're halfway through it. Well, we're 12 days into it. But what you do is you put your words in Scrivener. There's a template. The link is in the MacBites show 152. You create this, you download this template and you start putting your words in. And there's a button that you can push to send your word count up to NaNoWriMo. Now, obviously, if you would like this 50% discount, but you haven't got 50,000 words, you didn't hear this from me, just copy and paste, the quick brown fox. Because it's not sending the words, it's sending the word count. I'd get onto that, rather than send 50,000 words on the final day, maybe do it in batches before then. But it's not sending the actual words, it's sending the word count. So copy and paste is your friend in that regard, and you'll get your 50% discount. So you're looking at about $25, but it's definitely worth it. All the things that I use Scrivener for aren't really the things that Scrivener was built for. It's just what I use it for, because it can do amazing, amazing things. So yes, you could get it at half price, but you didn't hear that from me. Right, is this working? Looks like it is. Awesome. So I will flick over to that. I will push some buttons and press some things and see if that's working. Are you actually working? I do believe you are. Great. That's looking well. Right. Let's move that across then. Oh, hopefully you're seeing that. Great stuff. And there's my hand sanitizer. That's the first one of my 60 litres in a special bottle that I bought dedicated for it, because the other one was far too tiny. That one's awesome. Don't have to take the lid off. It's amazing. Right, shall we start with the little box or the big box?
Start with a little box.
We'll start with the little box. There you go. We'll start with the little box. There we go. In fact,
it's live.
Awesome. Right, let's take the lucky band off. Right, and there's two of those.
Oh, I needed a lucky band.
There you go. Have a lucky band. There's two of these. I'll open mine first, because one's mine and one's Mike's. This was the first day of the Black Friday sales, so I was a happy bunny. I was. And Paul will see this, and Paul won't be a happy bunny, because I don't think I've ever seen this on offer in the States. But it's that time of year again when we need our Office sub. Little bit different this time. So I keep an eye out, because we get this for £47 instead of, I think it's 80. So I always wait for the 40% sale. And it happened on the first day of the Black Friday sales. It's only about 10, this was Tuesday, I think. So about the 9th of November. And I know it's the 9th of November, but to Amazon it's Black Friday. So I did manage to get Office reduced. So that's my copy of Office, and Mike's kindly left me in charge of his copy of Office, or I'm hoping that's what's in it. A little bit different this time. Oh, awesome. Great. Right thing. Excellent. A little bit different this time, because the box is different, and instead of it being Office 365, it is Microsoft 365. And bizarrely, on the front of the box, it doesn't say half of what it includes. So I was looking at this and thinking, well, it's the family one. And it needed to be the family one. Let's move that there. Because this is the one you share with 6 people. And that's the one I needed. But it wasn't called family before, so I had to make a change for that as well. Don't focus away from it. Focus on what's right in front of you, stupid thing. But over here, these icons didn't include half the stuff that I wanted it to include, including Publisher, which is the only thing I pretty much use on Windows. And Access isn't listed either. But it's there. So I had the devil's own job finding it. I eventually found it on a hidden FAQ site. But it is there. So this is exactly what we used to have with Office 365, and it does include Publisher, and it does include Access. So there you go, Mike. Ours isn't due till February, but we buy it early in the sale.
Thank you.
So there's Mike's. Opened his Christmas presents for him as well. Right, where's the big box now? Because I've been waiting to open the big box.
Where's the big box? Behind you.
Come on then.
It's behind.
There you go. Paul says still not on offer in the States. That's just not on. Oh, but Kim got it on sale. Oh, the Navy Exchange Military Edition. Wow. Right, well, I don't want to drop this one, do I? No. Let's do it that way. So we have a bigger box. We do. I think I'm going to need the scissors on that one, because I tried doing it with the nail last time. Right, let's go into here. So this is the second one. This is the one that arrived on Sunday with much fanfare. So listen to the next episode of MacBites for the full story of that while I get into it. Right, let's get into it. Oh, we're getting there. We are. Have you noticed they've got the Christmas tape on this as well? Right, nearly there. At the other end, one more and I'm in. Oh, there we go. Right, that's got the tape off the top. Right. Oh, it's upside down. But there we are. Let's get in and get it out. There it is. Let's get rid of the box. And look at the front of it. There we go. It's a portable monitor. It's a USB-C, I think, stroke USB, stroke whatever. Portable monitor, 15.6 inches. Mike's had one for 4 years. In fact, you're onto your second, aren't you?
Yeah, the first one broke.
He broke the first one. He used it that much. But I was mean and stingy and I wouldn't buy one for myself. I said, I don't need a portable monitor. I want one, but I don't need one. But it came on offer at Black Friday deals. Did I mention that? So there was £35 off it. And when I looked at it, there was a little note underneath that said they'd given me a gift voucher of £10. And I thought, what did you do that for? I've got no idea why Amazon gave me a gift voucher, but they gave me another £10 off it. So in the end, it was £125. And I thought, do you know what? For £125, I think I will have that external monitor, whether I need one or not. And I've had it in this office, acclimatising, for the entire week. I thought I might as well unbox it with you guys. It's not the same if you unbox it on its own, is it? Anyway, it's all sheathed in plastic here. So let's get into it. There we go. Oh, it's like Apple, all in plastic.
Tracy slept through family film night to be nice and refreshed for after hours.
Oh, nice one, Tracy. Well done. Right, here we go. There's the monitor.
Yes, but you're in for the unboxing, Tracy.
That's the important bit. You're here for the important bit. Right, so I've got all of this plastic I'm getting rid of. Right, let's get rid of that. And this looks like it slides out. So with this being live and me not having done this, I'm hoping it's in one piece. It'll be tears before bedtime if it's not. Right, let's do that. And now we have the actual... Oh, it's like an Apple toy. Look. As it comes up and off. And there it is. Ooh! Exciting. Let's put that out of the way. Toy! Right, that's mighty big actually, isn't it? Right, let's get that out.
Don't say toy like that, you'll have her up here.
Oh yes, true.
We've already had Squeaky Chicken up here.
Oh, she wouldn't leave the chicken alone, would she? So it came in the house. It's absolutely filthy. Poor chicken.
I'm wet.
Right, there we go. That looks like that's the actual monitor and the case. It comes with its own case. So that's that bit. Then we've got all of this bit in here. So let's have a look at the bits and pieces first. We have a manual. Oh, this is going to be in print that, you know, I'm going to need binoculars to see, but there we go. Right, we have one cable. We have two cables. We have three cables. What have we got? We've got a USB-C to USB-C. We have a USB-C to standard USB. And what's that? What is that? I don't know what this one is. Let's have a look. Other two, I know. This one, I don't know. So let's have a look. HDMI. You do realise I could just plug the Apple TV into this? That hasn't been turned on in about 2 years. Yeah, I could update it. So there's HDMI as well. Do you know, there's 30 quid worth of cables there before we start. Okay, so there's the three cables. Now I can't get it back in the packet. There we go. And I'm assuming this is power. Or maybe not. I don't know what that is. Let's have a look. Come on, here we go. Well, it's something. Oh, it's one of those fold-up ones, only black. It's a fold-up one. It's a UK plug. But the UK plug, that bit has to come up. There we go. I know we have weird plugs over here. So, have you ever trodden on one of these in the night? Agonising. So that bit goes down like an apple bit.
No, but I've trodden on dog biscuits in the night.
I have trodden on a squeaky toy in the night. With Mayor, it was like, oh, don't wake him up, he'll be awake for 5 hours. Right, what that actually is doing is taking in at the side a USB, so it's just a USB thing. As far as I know, the thing itself takes its power from the single cable, so it should come from the single device. Whether that's going to work or not is known to you as well as me. I have no idea. Right, I don't know what I need to do with everything that's in there, but I'm going to get that out of the way. Let's pop it over there. While we get this on here. Right, I think we're going to need to turn that over, aren't we? There we go. And let's get in. Oh, it's that really sticky stuff. You know, the one that you can't actually get off. It just rips and tears. Let's use the scissors. That's a better bet entirely, or it'll just rip. There we go. We are in. Oh, the excitement. Right. That isn't actually that heavy considering you're looking at, you know, a 15.6 inch monitor. Right, looks like that's it. Didn't we say with yours the stand was weird? I'm not quite sure how the stand is supposed to work. Which way up is it?
Yeah.
You had it folded the other way, didn't you, somehow? That is actually... it's magnetic. Yeah. There we go. It's magnetic. So that's the case. This looks actually very similar to yours.
I was just going to say, it looks almost identical.
And you paid a lot more. I'm just tight. Right,
yeah, but I've had several months of use of it.
Oh, nicely done, Mike. I'm honestly not sure how that stand is supposed to work. Let's flip it round that way.
I took the stand off.
Yeah, I can see what Mike did with
I'm using an A-frame.
He took it off like that, and then, instead of putting it back on, he just kind of wraps that round it somehow. Yeah. But yeah, I think it should flip round that way. So I think it's attached like that.
I've got it in a proper case. In fact, I've taken the case from the old one.
I think it's that way up. I think it goes that way.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, there you go. That will actually stand up like that. So now all we need to do is work out how it works. I have no idea how it works. Well, it's got the ports over there. Let's have a look round. There are... let's get it off there. Right, let's see if we can see that. That's one side, which looks like audio and a USB-C and some buttons. And that is the other side, which is 2 more USB-C and something else, which I have no idea what the something else is, but there's something else there as well. That. So I just need to work out what all of that is. I probably need to read the instructions, don't I? Which is really going to kill my pig. I've got to read the instructions. That'll slow me down immensely. I could try just... Do you remember when we plugged yours in and nothing happened and we started to freak out? It's a bit like that, isn't it? Do we think it'd work from an iPad? Do we think that might work? Let's give it a go. Let's grab hold of an iPad, M1 iPad, and see if that'll work. Oh, and it's just got into my mail, and I've got the mail from Patricia. It's arrived.
Kim
Patricia
says, is there a camera?
Not on that one, no. Let's see if this works. So, where did the box go? I'm going to need a bigger desk. Right, what I'll do is I'll move that iPad and replace it with this iPad. Right, lose that iPad over there and try and find a cable. According to the instructions, I think it does work with an iPad, but I'm not sure if you have to do some incantation at the iPad end. I honestly don't know. So let's have a look what it says. Now, it purposely says here, Mike, look at this, don't touch the screen. Mike touches the screen all
Don't
the
touch the
time.
horn.
Don't touch the horn. Interface function. On-screen instructions. Do you know what? I'm just going to have to plug it in, aren't I? HDMI. Right, Type-C. I'm not sure if that works with or without. What's that? It could need power. Power the monitor from the Type-C port with the included adapter. Input signal with Type-C from Type-C. Oh, right. That's not an iPad, though. I don't know. I honestly don't know. So what I'll do is I'll grab those two.
Play with it in the week and report
Play
back.
with it in the week and report back, I guess, is the answer, isn't it? Instead of fiddling. But, you know, I'll give it a go. I've no idea what plugs in where, but we'll give it a go. An iPad should be able to sort out an external screen, surely, without any extra power. Because that means crawling under the desk. I mean, come on. Right, I don't know which one this is supposed to plug into. I wonder if it matters. Where's the instructions go? It's all very exciting, this. I've waited all week for this. I'm sure it said an iPad. That it'd do an iPad, but that looks like a phone. Okay, data 1 to the top. Let's try that. Data 1 to the top. Yeah, but there's 3 on here. Let's assume it means that one. Right, and let's plug that into the iPad. Right. I have no idea what these buttons do. Not doing much at the moment. Right, where did that grey cable go? That's power. Where did that grey cable go that I've just unplugged? There it is. Right, let's bring that over. See if that's power. Right. Oh, hang on. No cable, it says. That means it's got power. No, it's got a cable. It's not saying no power anymore, but I don't see it having a picture from the iPad either. And the phone wouldn't work, would it? Because that's so I need something for some input.
Cool. What about MacBook?
Good thinking. Right, I've got one of those. Oh, you should see the state of this desk. Right, we now have a MacBook Air. Let's drag that on.
Do you want me to hold anything?
No, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Let's move that a bit and take that. Oh, this one wants me to log in. Oh, and I've changed 1,675 files. Right, come on, come on. Come on, come on. Right. Right, that's got life. So if I get this cable and plug that into... Oh, God, it's on the wrong side, Apple. Hey, at least it doesn't need a dongle. Well, not that we know of, it doesn't. Right, shall we try the displays and see if that
Also,
works?
check the iPad for screen mirroring.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that, you know. Right. I am not sure what needs to be done at the other end. That's the issue I've got. It obviously needs turning on somehow and whatever. But there's that. So I'm at that point. Need to get this to acknowledge that there's actually something there. Right. Well, there is that, whatever that is. So let's have a look at that one. Do we have any joy? No, I'm not seeing any joy at the moment, unfortunately. Let's try that. Oh, I'm going to have to read the instructions. Oh, come on. You should just be able to turn this on and it should just incant, shouldn't it? It says it's in power saving mode. So it's not dead. But there's 3 buttons and I don't know which one I'm supposed to fiddle with.
I can't remember if I had to press a button. I do have another cable.
I honestly don't know. Oh, I'm going to have to look at that in the week, I think. It should technically be as simple as plugging this in, but it doesn't seem like it is.
Rene says he's back. I didn't know he'd gone away.
No, I didn't. Right, let's try once more, and if that doesn't work, I'll do it in the week. No, I don't know what I need to do with that. I clearly need to incant something that's not incanting. So leave me with it, and we'll get back to that. But yes, that was the unboxing. So let's switch back to that. Can I get everything out of the way here? Oh, there's me. Hello. Right. No, hang on. Well, I can do that, but I need to incant something else first, don't I? And I've lost my keyboard. So let's do that first, otherwise you won't be seeing a thing. Long press on what? That's my problem. Long press on what? I've got 3 buttons and I can't see what they're for. Obviously one of them is power of some description. I wonder if it's the top one. No, I'm going to need to read the manual. Oh, how embarrassing to have to read the manual on this. I've basically done everything that says, but it says set up on the computer and it starts with Windows and then it's on about rotating the screen and there's nothing about the Mac, but it did say it worked on the Mac, so somewhere in there it should tell me what the buttons are for. Mini HDMI, that must be on the left. And, oh, hang on, D, E and F. Right, volume up, volume down. Power and back. Which is totally the opposite to what I thought. So, let's push that for a start. Last incantation. Last incantation. Maybe a long press on the power? No, nothing's happening. This isn't looking good. Fingers crossed, eh? Fingers crossed. But we will move on. All right, let me do that. And let me do that. That's not working either. Crying out loud. Did I come out of this, or has it got a mind of its own? I'm thinking it's got a mind of its own. That's a bit better. Right, let's try that instead, and we'll come back to this. Or we'll come back to it working, hopefully, next week. So, that was this monitor. If only I could get it turned on, then I could show you. But we will. So, come on, move along. So, it's supposed to have extend mode and copy mode and single mode, which I'm assuming means I could plug it in to my Apple TV and make it work. So, fingers crossed, eh? That's the idea. And I don't think that one needed power. That's what made me think. So I'm not sure if I need power with it or not, but we'll work it out. Because that proves I did not cheat and unbox it early. I didn't. It's as simple as that. I absolutely didn't. Right. The next one was Office, which I got 40% off. And like I said, you can see there, it does not tell you anywhere on the box what that actually does include. Because it does include the Windows only stuff like Publisher and Access. But yes, even when I went into the details there, it still didn't tell me, which I think is criminal. I only knew it was the right one, the green one, the family one, because all the others are for only one person. And that one is for 6 people, which I don't particularly use, but you do because your mother's on it. You used to be on mine.
I did.
Yeah, but now Mike has his own, and his mother's on it as well. So what have we got coming up? Oh, we have same time, same place next week. Hopefully this monitor working and I can show it to you. We also have something rather special if you are an Affinity user and have the need to digitally asset manage your Affinity files. But I can't say any more on that at the moment. Just don't miss it next week. Available on demand, we have everything at YouTube, at youtube.com/Elaine Giles. We have our After Hours playlist, and you can get to that at macbites.co.uk/After Hours playlist. And, of course, there's the not insignificant matter of a MacBites. And I think it's safe to say there will be one this week, barring total calamity, which, here, that could happen. But if it doesn't, at 8 o'clock at some point, we'll let you know on Slack, they will be a premiere. And I will share the full glory of the arrival of this monitor, which was unusual. Let's say that. And that'll be on the next show. We love you guys. If you love us, can you give us a like? It really makes a difference. I mean, so do the dislikes. You just won't see them anymore. Oh, poor YouTube. Right, all of my stuff is shared at elainejars.com/VIP. You will get emails from there. All the MacBites stuff, including new MacBites episodes, is available at macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail. And, of course, there's Slack, where we have an absolute ball. It is where we carry on the conversation, and you would be most welcome to join us. It is macbites.co.uk/Slack. And that is where you can get hold of us all. Oh, I hope you've enjoyed that. That was fun, wasn't it? Now I can't see the desk. I literally cannot see the desk for detritus. But I will endeavour to see the desk at some point. Let's make sure I can see the chat. That's the most important thing, isn't it? Can I see the chat? And if I do that, then I should be able to see the chat. Awesome, there we go. Right, let's have a look. I'm going back up here. Renee doesn't even know what you bought. You were away. Tracy, it should be available in the Black Friday sale. So they started day one with that on offer. But it should also be available the first week proper of Black Friday, if not Cyber Monday. That's an ongoing thing. There's two options though, so be careful. One, you get an email with an activation code. The other one is in a box, and we go for the box one. And in the box, there's a code. But when you look at the price difference, it's actually more expensive to get the one sent by email. That's why we don't. Plus the fact I always think, I've got the box, I've got a card. So if there's anything goes wrong, I've got something physical. Right, let's catch up with that. That is great, Patricia. I will have a look at that. Oh, Patricia uses assets in Affinity Photo, Designer and Publisher. I mean assets as in the actual files themselves. So let's see. Thank you, Kim. You're seeing a thumbs down on both the iPad and Vivaldi. Yes, Debbie, you still can give a video a dislike, but you just don't see how many dislikes the videos have got, and that's site-wide on YouTube. It's a decision that they've taken. They undertook some investigation in the whole thing. They've been researching for months, and they've found that people are misusing the dislike to pile in on somebody. Now, how widespread that was, I have no idea, but they've just decided that's it. And that's the end of it. So you can give a video a dislike, but you won't see the dislike count. So I suppose it's to dissuade people from doing it. But
that's interesting.
What?
Before my very eyes, the one dislike has changed to a 0.
Because you're logged in as an admin, aren't you?
Yeah. And the like has gone up.
Well, maybe somebody's trying it, Mike. Yeah. Maybe somebody's trying it. That's just what they've decided to do. As I say, I don't know how widespread it was. I don't even know who was involved, but they've done their homework and people are up in arms. So we'll find out. Now the comments will get nasty. People who are like, I put a dislike on it and I can't see it, they'll put a comment on it. But well, whatever. We're being adults, aren't we? We're being grown-ups, but apparently not. Right. Quick Scrivener question. Can you do a strike through of text? Yes, you can, Debbie. And at the point you come to compile, you can choose to have the struck through text shown, or you can have it automatically removed from the compile. But the text is still there. So you can still see it in Scrivener, but anything you compile doesn't have the struck through text. Oh, you've got a one. Well, It must be rolling out slower to Debbie then, mustn't it?
No, we know who the culprit was. If you read the chat, it was Renee.
Well, there's always one, isn't it? By accident. You know what the problem was there, don't you?
What?
Notch must have been obscuring it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's going to run and run. Oh, I'm loving that. The dislike and like count goes up and down. Honestly, it's ridiculous. But what is going to happen, I mean, clearly you're still seeing it. So they're rolling it out. They've been rolling it out for 2-3 days now. And I'm seeing it on some videos and not other videos. But that's what they're going to do. You want to be able to see the text with a line through it. Yes, you can do that. You can see it with a line through it in Scrivener. If and when you compile, you have a choice as to whether you see it or not. So if you want to see it, that's fine. But if you don't want to see it, then there's an option to just not see it. There's also an option to see footnotes and endnotes or not see them, to see comments or not see them. And there's 2 different types of comments. There's inline comments and there's comments that appear in a sidebar. So pretty much Scrivener has you covered no matter what you want to do. There will be a way to do it. There will be a way to do it. I was leaving comments for myself, which is how I work in PowerPoint. And the ability to leave those comments there but not have them compiled is just genius. Because sometimes the compile that you're doing is for yourself, but it's to do a particular job and you don't want to see a kind of audit trail of your thinking. You just want to see what the final thing was, what the final decision was. Is it only available in compile? As opposed to what? Do you want to turn off the display of the struck through text in Scrivener? Is it when you export? What are you thinking? Renee's selling the MacBook, notch, notch, wink, wink. Oh, I'm loving that. That should be the title of the show, Mike. Then we'll remember this was the show when Renee had his new toy. Liking that. Whatever it is you want to do, I'm pretty confident there will be a way to do it. It is just going to depend on what it actually is. But we'll have a Q&A session on Scrivener at the end, if you like, and then you can pile in with what your questions are and we'll try and work them all out. Seeing it in the editor. I think you have to see the text in the editor because if you couldn't see it, you wouldn't be able to strike it out or not strike it out. Are there views that you could use? Probably not. I think you're going to be stuck with seeing it in the editor. Because the text component that it uses is the standard Mac text component. No, Paul, not a thing. Didn't miss a thing. Oh, you're going to try the dislike features. Dislike features are up the wall. Really, they are. They're up the wall. Oh, fun and games. Right, here's a scenario. In my travel journal, there is some info that's no longer available, but it's what you put in. You want to continue to view it. Yes, you could see it. You could strike it through, so it would be there and you could see it. If you then wanted to compile it, you have a choice whether you see it or not. That's how it works. Oh, do you know, Renee would probably be here for another 3 hours, wouldn't he? Yeah, stamina, Renee, stamina. Oh, is it true? Is it true that you're going back into lockdown? We've no chance of going back into lockdown, have we? Not in Boris's mind. Not in Boris's tiny little mind. Mind you, it could happen. Who knows? But we was all over our news that you were, which seemed out of the blue to me, but there you go. Right, let me get that off there. I've got stuff stuck now all over the place. All the packaging that's all over my desk. And all the toys that are all over my desk that I can't quite get rid of. Oh, that was fun, wasn't it? Yes. Mike's nodded off. Thought you nodded off, though. No. Right, well, I'm going to head off and not only get something to eat, because I'm starving. I'm going to head off and try and get my new toy to work. Though it is before bedtime if I can't get it to work. That's for sure. Okay then, so for the moment I'm going to say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.